I can see into your mind.
Gutsman's the name, cutting's my game, and I don't mean hair.
Welcome to the Fantasy Zone.
Don't forget to subscribe.
The original Mega Man, it's not bad, but I don't like it. This is probably going to be a thing with all the first games of these well-loved video game series. The original isn't bad, and for the time, it was groundbreaking, but looking at it today, why play it when there are better options? I'm not going to talk about the stories of these games much, because don't worry, we'll get there with other more story-heavy titles, but the original Mega Mans aren't that complicated. Dr. Wily is evilly, Dr. Light and Mega Man are goody, play a bunch of boss battles, win the game. Besides, no one cares about the story of original Mega Man, we care about the gameplay. You can really only do two things with the buttons, it is NES after all, and that's jump and shoot. I will say, for being the first game, Mega Man still has those tight and responsive jumping controls it's known for. It can feel stiff sometimes, but that kind of helps it since you have to be very precise with some jumps. Unfortunately, Mega Man games of the past suffer from a terrible disease many old games have, RGBS, which stands for Retro Gaming Bullshit. The older games are not long. On average, each of these Mega Man games took me about 2 hours to beat, so in order to pad out the runtime, they add cheap shit, like bottomless pits, one-hit death spikes, inconvenient enemy placements, and general asshole programming. If the game you're playing has any of these, it may be suffering from RGBS. And the reason it sucks is because of these factors. It makes the game feel more frustrating and less satisfying when you do overcome these obstacles. Now, these all can't be too bad. If you're patient and get the timing right on some of these things, then you won't have much trouble with them. But then you get to things like Fireman. Holy shit, is this guy impossible. He just spams his attack with no pattern or rest. The only way to kill him is to get lucky and use the right weapon. Each Mega Man game will follow the same pattern of 8 stages, each with one of Wily's Robot Masters waiting at the end for a boss battle. Then the last stretch of the game is several levels in Wily's castle that test everything you know about the game using every weapon in your arsenal to eventually fight Wily and beat the game. The only exception to this is Mega Man 1, which has 6 Robot Masters instead of 8. The Robot Masters are not too hard, except for one, especially when you use the appropriate weapon, you don't have a hard time against them. That's one thing Mega Man has that makes it stand out. When you beat a Robot Master, you get their weapon, allowing you to use it in later stages to help defeat enemies and bosses. They also help in traversing the levels and finding secrets. Like this one in the Electman stage where you need Gutsman's power to get this weapon that allows you to create platforms, which is required to beat the game. So yes, a missable weapon is required to complete this game. That's some heavy RGBS right there. The main use of the boss weapons though is to basically trounce the next boss of the game. By experimenting and figuring out what does what, you can use the right weapon to beat them all in seconds. It feels pretty good to do that too, considering you just went through the hell that is their stage. Another thing that's a staple of Mega Man games is the boss rush of all the Robot Masters that you have to face before you fight Wily. Of course, some of them are easier now that you have the appropriate weakness. Some of them are easier. Wily himself, at least compared to the hell you just endured, that is Mega Man 1, is incredibly easy. No problems at all. Mega Man 1 is unfortunately more frustrating than anything. I did not feel satisfied beating it because I didn't feel like I won thanks to my own skill, but through luck and save states. Who cares about that game though, because everyone knows Mega Man actually starts at Mega Man 2. You can tell Capcom stepped it up for this. First there's this iconic intro recapping the first game leading to the title screen, and then you load up that first stage and hear that kick-ass music. There is a reason this is considered to be one of the best NES games of all time, and it's not my favorite of the NES games personally, but I definitely see why it is for many. First thing you gotta mention is the music. I knew Mega Man was known for its awesome songs, but I wasn't expecting this. It sounds like one of those 8-bit remixes of an actual song. That music is accompanied by a damn good game. It wasn't as much RGBS in this. It's still there, don't get me wrong, it is an NES game. But overall, thanks to the controls and health pickups being more frequent, it felt more fair. I found I use the Robot Master's weapons more frequently too, especially Metal Man's blade. See, Mega Man has a stiff arm, poor bastard, can only shoot directly in front of him. But the metal blade allows you to shoot in 8 directions, making it the go-to weapon in my opinion. There's also a time stop, a powerful crash bomb, bubbles. Alright, that one sucks. But the rest are useful in some way. My favorite part of these games is actually the last part in Wily's Castle. It's an onslaught of all the things you've learned, and even though you now have all the powers, you can't just use them as much as you want, as they don't refill in between the stages, and you need to save them for the bosses, cause you'll need them. Like the biggest RGBS boss in this whole game. The boss in question is called the Boo Beam, cause of course it is. You need to use your full Crash Bomb ammo to kill this thing. If you miss or use one too many, reset, cause there's literally no other way to beat this boss. The last boss, which is an alien, no I will not give context, is similar because it's only weak to the bubble weapon. The difference is the bubble is useless almost everywhere else, except here and against one Robot Master, so you'll most likely have enough to win. Crash Bomb isn't the best, but it's still useful, and if you used it even once before this, you're fucked. Mega Man 2 is better in every aspect. Yeah, I hated the RGBS, but that's a product of the time if anything, you kinda have to adjust to it. Can't wait to do this 9 more fucking times. Okay, so these are obviously going to get shorter, because every Mega Man game is the same, just different bosses and power-ups. Mega Man 3 introduces some new things though, like characters. This is the first appearance of Rush, the best boy, who allows you to use his coil to reach high places, his jet to cruise over the level, and the Marine, which is useful like twice. It also introduces Proto Man, Mega Man's brother. He shows up, jumps around, and then runs away. Thanks, bro. The best thing it introduces is Mega Man Slide, which, believe it or not, allows you to slide, which comes in handy for dodging enemies, at least that's what I mostly used it for. It also introduces everyone's favorite character, Lag. A lot of lag. I know we're only 3 in, but this is the least fun Mega Man game so far, for several reasons. One of those reasons is the lag. Too many sprites on the screen can make the game unplayable sometimes. It also pads the game out by having you do 4 extra stages in between the regular ones and the Wily Castle. They're basically remixes of 4 of the stages you just played, and in them you fight new versions of the bosses from Mega Man 2? Why? What's the point of this? It's not too hard, you don't get anything except pointlessness. The boss weapons are lame too. You get snakes. Shadow Man Power is a worse version of the Metal Man one from the last game, and I know Capcom is really dicking around here, because one of the robots is named Hard Man. This game also has a lot of you-know-what in the stages, especially with enemy placement. It felt like they were trying to piss me off. Mega Man 3 is definitely my least favorite so far. The lag, the padding, uninteresting weapons, and the music and presentation being not as good as its predecessor makes it the worst so far. I was dreading Mega Man 4 at this point because I thought all games now were just going to be Mega Man 2, but with some new thing or slight change added. New thing added here is Mega Man's charge shot. Gone are the days of button mashing, now is the age of button holding. By holding the shoot button, you can charge your shot, dealing one big powerful blast. I barely used it. Enemies don't have post-hit invincibility, so mashing I found to be faster when killing them, and you're just going to use the weakness for the boss, so it never felt useful to me. I will mention that this game features a new antagonist, Dr. Cossack. Yeah, they're switching it up, until it's revealed Wily manipulated him by kidnapping his daughter, which I guess was supposed to be a twist, even though it's expected at this point. Mega Man 4 is good, it's better than 3. The music has improved as well in its presentation. When you get a new weapon, a sprite of Mega Man does a little 3D spin. It's pretty impressive for NES, I think. I still got some lag at points when there were too many sprites, but after playing 3 I kinda adjusted to it so it didn't bother me as much here. And Mega Man, for 4 games, you were doing good. But you had to crack and add an auto-scroller level in this game, didn't you? You were one of the good ones. They also padded out the game again too, with a Dr. Cossack's castle and then a Wily castle followed right after. More stages of the same thing does not equal fun, Capcom. But yeah, it's a Mega Man-ass Mega Man game. Seems like you play one, you play them all. Out of the 6 original Mega Mans, I can say Mega Man 5 is probably my favorite. New thing here is beat a robot bird that Cossack from the last game gave Mega Man. When you collect all the letters and stages that spell Mega Man 5, he becomes usable. I didn't though, because I missed the G, because I'm not an epic gamer. Story is Proto Man became evil, yeah, I'm sure. Wily behind it all along, Robot Masters, you know the drill. One reason I like this game is the level design. Finally, Capcom has realized just putting bottomless pits and spikes does not equal good level design. Gravity Man stage is the obvious standout, having you traverse it while dealing with reverse gravity. Most stages are still Mega Man stages, but stuff like that help mix it up and feel fresh. I like the aesthetic of them as well, like Charge Man stage is a train, the effect on the crystals in Crystal Man stage looks great. The charge shot also felt way more useful. I found myself actually using it more often. Its animation and sound effects feel way more satisfying too. There is another auto-scroller, but this one is better because it's also a vehicle section, so you have to constantly dodge and shoot, making it more fun to play in my opinion. It's not perfect. There's more padding with 2 castles you have to go through. Again, like yeah, I said these Wily sections are my favorite part of the game, but you don't need to add 2 of them. One of the Wily ones does have this interesting boss where you actually have to attack it in order for it to attack you, and then use its own attack so you can damage it. It's simpler and cooler than I make it sound. With the combination of the level design, the improved weapons, and the decent soundtrack, I'd say Mega Man 5 is the best one so far. At this point, I think the only thing 2 has that's better is the music. Well, there's one more game in the Mega Man sextology? Is that what it is? Mega Man 6's new gimmick is now Rush can combine with Mega Man with the Rush adapter, so you can get Jet Mega Man, which lets you fly for a brief period of time at the sacrifice of your charge shot, and Power Mega Man, which gives you stronger attacks at the cost of range. Also, each form doesn't allow you to slide, which I forgot a lot of the time. In this game, the mysterious Mr. X who, oh come on, they're not even trying anymore. That's the equivalent of Bowser wearing a fake mustache and claiming to be the Pringles guy. The best thing I think this game adds is after you get a new boss weapon, a little demo plays to show you what it does. It's really helpful. Other than that, it's the same as every other Mega Man game. Even Capcom doesn't care anymore because they forgot to hire an editor because Wily failed D. Anyway, let's move on from these 8-bit Mega Man games. Let's go to some better technology. Finally, with Mega Man 7, we move on to the Super Nintendo, and the intro with its music and visuals lets you know this is Mega Man on next gen. Gotta admit, even when playing these games back to back, hearing that tune in better quality with the pose was pretty cool. Everything here is improved, not just the graphics and sound, but the gameplay as well. Of course, there are still one-hit kill spikes and death pits, but that's just a stable of platformers and Mega Man at this point. This game really eases up on the RGBS, making for a fun and fair Mega Man game. In fact, I'd say since the damage you take is pretty minimal, and checkpoints are more frequent since the stages are longer, this is the easiest Mega Man game so far. Doesn't mean it can't be challenging at times. Rush is back with 2 new upgrades, the Rush Super Adapter, which you get by collecting the letters Rush in the first 4 stages. And man, this thing is great. It combines the powers from 6, giving you more power and a short flight. It wasn't the correct choice all the time, but it was fun to use, and I always used it. There's also the Rush Search, which will have him dig at whatever spot you're at. And he will dig up helpful items or bolts, which you can exchange at the shop run by a new Dr. Light assistant, Otto. Using the bolts, you can craft extra lives, tanks to restore your health and weapon energy, or useful items like the Exit, which lets you exit any stage at any time after you beat the boss. This is useful if you want to go back and collect any items or bolts you missed on your first go-around. When using the weakness against the bosses, you also get a special animation, and they respond in a unique way to keep you from spamming it, and not making them incredibly easy like previous games. Keeps you on your toes. This game also introduces a new character that will become kind of a staple of Mega Man games, Bass and his robot dog Treble. But when I was a kid, I always called him Bass because I thought a homograph was a gay man who really liked math. Bass is meant to be a rival to Mega Man, which is apparent in his boss fight when he has his own super adapter. This boss fight is pretty fun too. I always like games with fights against an enemy with the same abilities as you. Now, is this game perfect? Of course not. The Springman stage can go fuck itself. Some of these boss patterns like Slashmans can be pretty tricky and frustrating, especially on your first playthrough when you don't know what you're doing. And the worst part of this game is definitely the last boss. Up until the finale, the game is challenging, but nothing too hard to handle. The final fight, though, I'm convinced is not just the hardest Mega Man boss, but one of the hardest bosses in all of gaming. It's mainly because his attacks not only track you, but if you get hit by the fire or ice one, you take extra damage and are stunned. But through determination, luck, and finding a good way to dodge, you can beat him. And while bullshit, I haven't felt more satisfaction beating one of these games until now. It was a pretty fun boss fight. Which begs the question, is Mega Man the Elden Ring of Dark Souls? Mega Man 7 has its flaws, but overall I think it's the best Mega Man so far. If you want to experience that classic Mega Man difficulty with less bullshit, better graphics and sound, play Mega Man 7. It's a great game. And now we move on from cartridges to discs with Mega Man 8 on the PS1. With new disc technology, many companies decided to add full motion video to their games, and Mega Man is no exception. This is the first Mega Man to have animated cutscenes and voice acting, and it is glorious.
You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man. The battery will be charged in 10 minutes.
That's good. But where is Dr. Wily?
That's a good question. When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wily.
Why must I fight you? We are not enemies!
Shut up!
strange meteor has fallen to Earth just a while ago. This meteor seems to be emitting a powerful energy signature. Something this powerful must not fall into the hands of evil.
Even the Robot Masters have voice acting, which gives them a little more personality and also makes me uncomfortable.
That's no good!
I didn't consent to this.
Mega Man, today we finish this.
Hey, that!
Wait, what'd he say?
Hey, that!
Holy shit, maybe me from the past wasn't completely stupid. Now obviously with these cutscenes, this one naturally has a more fleshed out story than past Mega Man games. The gameplay here is improved over its predecessors. Before, you either could use the Mega Buster or a boss weapon, never at the same time. Here you always have access to the Buster, and you can use the boss weapon with a different button. You even get a fancy render of Mega Man when you get a weapon. Spiffy. Weapons even have uses outside of just boss weaknesses. This weak little soccer ball thing you get at the beginning can be used for extra height when you need to get up to a high place. In Swordman stage, you need to use the ice weapon to get past an obstacle, and Clownman's Thunderclaw is actually a shitty grappling hook. The music, while not as catchy as 2, has this nice vibe to it. It sounds like Mega Man, but more mellow and a natural upgrade to new disc quality sound. My one major problem with Mega Man is he walks so slow. Like, is he rusting? I get Mega Man is about patience, but I also want to beat the game sometime this next week. The bosses I feel are the fairest they've ever been. Even if you don't have the weakness, they have an actual pattern that you can learn, so you can beat any of them with the Buster. Trust me, pattern fights are a huge leap for this game. Stages even mix up the gameplay with unique sections, like a side-scrolling shooter section that's pretty fun, also really slow though, and a snowboarding section that makes me want to die. In these stages you can find special bolts which you can use to get upgrades from roll, but there's a strategy to it since there is a limited number of bolts you can't buy everything in the shop, so you have to strategically decide what upgrades you want based on your own playstyle or what you might need for certain stages. I really like that, it keeps you from just owning everything and being overpowered. The last boss is basically a rehash from 7, but way easier. I guess they learned getting stunned for 10 hours during a boss fight is kinda unfair. Mega Man with its Oscar-worthy cutscenes, cartoony graphics, and a bit more mellow OST, especially with the upgrades to some gameplay elements, make it my favorite Mega Man. Well, after Mega Man 8, that came out in 1997, its sequel Mega Man 9 wouldn't be released until 2008, a little over a decade later, as an exclusive digital download on the consoles of the time. To get a physical copy of these, you need to get the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, which I had to get on Steam digitally. And no, your screen is not fooling you, this isn't footage of Mega Man 2, it's 9. Remember, this game was released in 2008, 10 years later, and Mega Man 2 is still considered to be the pinnacle of Mega Man games. So this game goes back to 8-bit and it removes the charge shot and slide to poke that nostalgic lobe of the brain. So Mega Man is basically evolving backwards, which not only pisses off evolutionists, but me as well. I hate it. I get reverting to the style 2 decades after the old Mega Man is probably well loved by the OG Mega Man fans, tickling their nostalgia for a franchise that hadn't seen a new entry in so long. I get that. I'm not one of those, and have been playing these back to back. How dare Capcom not consider me when creating this game? It plays like Mega Man 2, so not much I can add here. One thing I noticed is how the game actually teaches you stuff. Like it will display a mechanic or enemy in a safe environment showing you what it's capable of, then preparing you for the rest of the level if you paid attention. Yeah, Mega Man adapted to modern game design. Feels weird. I have nothing else to say, just listen to me talk about Mega Man 2, it's the same game basically. This game does have the first female Robot Master. Yeah, everybody gets one, ladies. Oh, and I find this one image of Dr. Wily convincing the robots to work for him very hilarious. I still love his pose, he's like, he looks like a used car salesman, he's like, hey, come on, come on. Mega Man 10 is the same fucking thing. I don't want to play any more fucking 8-bit Mega Mans. There's 8 of them. Is that not enough? The only major difference here is you can play as Proto Man. There's an easy mode, you know, for the plebs. There's also a robot called Pump Man that I assume hangs out with Hard Man. I'm sure they get along fine. The final Mega Man game released a few years ago in 2018 as Mega Man 11. Gone are the 8-bit demons. We embrace true next-generation gaming. Well, I sort of do. My gameplay looks slow and laggy. It's because it is. My laptop is old. I need to get a new computer. I'm sorry. And I can pay for that computer if you like, comment, and subscribe. Despite my own technical shortcomings, I continue to play this game because it's really good, a true modern sequel to Mega Man. Production is improved in every way with this game, especially with the fact that it has in-game cutscenes with voice acting. Of course, they're not as good as the voice acting from 8, but that's impossible to surpass. It's like trying to surpass God. I will say Mega Man's voice needed to grow on me. I thought it was a little too deep.
I can take it, Doctor. I want to do this no matter the cost. Hook me up.
I always imagine he sounds like the Japanese version, more of a kid than a teenager, but as I kept playing the game, I warmed up to it. This game's big new mechanic to mix things up is the double gear system. You can activate it with L and R, and you choose between the power gear and speed gear. Power gear powers up all of Mega Man's attacks, and the speed gear slows down time, allowing you to dodge enemies and obstacles. And you can activate them both at the same time for a short period for a big boost in everything. I never really used it a lot. I only really used it for bosses, usually at the slowdown, and then just mashing the shoot button to kill them fast. But yeah, I don't think this mechanic was as useful to me as the developers intended. Kind of disappointing. Now, two things I thought were really great that this game added were the Rush Coil and Rush Jet powers are now dedicated buttons. That is genius. The other thing is a weapon wheel you can access with the right stick. These two additions make the game flow so smooth, you basically never have to interrupt your game by pausing and selecting your weapon. They are minor things, but after playing 10 of these back to back, it's very welcome. The stuff in the shop in this game I didn't find to be useful either. The only one is the item that automatically charges your shots when not holding the button. That was awesome. As you can see, the graphics look amazing. I love that when you land a charge shot on enemies that usually just guard it, in this game it lowers the defenses so you can get in some hits with this cute little animation. The music isn't bad, but I don't really find it memorable. It wasn't really a track that stuck out to me personally, which kind of sucks since Mega Man is known for its catchy tunes. It's not bad, just not as memorable as others, I think. Honestly, I can't really think of a major downside to this game. Yeah, there are minor things that annoy me, like I said, the music's not as good, and the stages can feel overly long and gimmicky. Fuck Bounce Man stage. I think this is the easiest Mega Man game. I only game over it once, and when you realize all the patterns of the enemies and bosses, they are no problem. Roll even gives you a hint at the boss order you should do in the intro cutscene. That's cute. Also, after getting a new weapon, the game lets you test them out. That is amazing. Mega Man 11, like I said, is a great modern Mega Man game. It's challenging for both newcomers and OG fans, and with multiple difficulties, special challenge missions, it's the longest one too. I still prefer 8 and 7 over it though. Those games I feel have that proper Mega Man RGBS, but enough quality of life improvements to make the challenge fun. 11 I think is a good natural progression for the series though. If there is a possibility of a Mega Man 12 someday, more like this, less like this. Well, that's all the OG Mega Man games. If I had to say my favorites, I would say 8 is my favorite, followed by 7, 11, 5, 2, 6, 9, 4, 10, 1, and 3 is the worst for me. Let me tell you, beating all those games in a marathon is more tiring than you'd expect. And now I have to play 8 Mega Man X games. I need a life.
No, this isn't happening! There's no reason for me to go on. What? What am I fighting for?
Don't forget to subscribe.
Well, with the popularity of the Mega Mans, it's only natural a spinoff is made to really milk it. Enter Mega Man X. When the Super Nintendo was released, Capcom kept making games for the NES for some reason, but after 3 years they decided to finally transition to the future in more ways than one. With the more advanced hardware, Keiji Inafune, known as the father of Mega Man, decided to reinvent the Blue Bomber. This included not just gameplay, but also his look and a more mature plot. Honestly, I always avoided Mega Man X, because it always felt like the edgy Mega Man to me, like it's Mega Man X because it's extreme. I have a huge bias towards bright, fun, cartoony graphics, so whenever I would see this Mega Man looking all serious and hearing about how it's darker, it just turned me off. I always assumed X was the Mega Man for edgelords, until I found out about the canceled Mega Man reboot, and I'd like to apologize to Mega Man X fans everywhere. This will be the first time I've ever played a Mega Man X game, and I'll be playing all 8 of the mainline games that were released on home consoles. And honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to it. This series is well loved just as much, if not more, than the original Mega Man, and it's where Zero comes from, whose games on the GBA that helped introduce me to Mega Man. I'm pretty excited. Honestly, I can't wait to see what I've been missing out on all these years. They're the same game. Like, you see this and this, it's like they're the same. Why are you going to do a spin-off if we're just going to do the same thing? Yes, I'm not kidding. Mega Man X is the same as the OG. It's an action platformer where you run, jump, and shoot through 8 levels, where at the end you fight a boss, get their weapon, which you can use on other bosses since they are weak to it, and it all ends with a gauntlet of levels at the end where you fight the same 8 bosses you just fought back to back, and fight the same main antagonist you've beaten multiple times in the past. It's the same game. There are obviously differences that make it its own, like the darker and more fleshed out story. Sometime during the original Mega Man, Dr. Light made a robot called Mega Man X that could think and feel on its own and have free will. Even though he already made the original Mega Man, but whatever. Realizing there is a rule that robots cannot harm human beings, he seals X in a diagnostic capsule to download morality and a sense of right and wrong into him. Yeah, question? That's a cool story and all, but he's a robot. Why can't you just program he cannot harm humans? I know it's the whole philosophical quandary of AI and all that sci-fi explores, blah blah blah, but he's a robot. Just program it in. I just don't understand how these genius scientists can program free will, but can't program it in a failsafe or an off button. 100 years after X was made, and geez, like, is that diagnostic running on AOL or something? Another scientist named Dr. Kane finds X's capsule and thinks it's the dopest shit in the world. So he makes a bunch of other robots that replicate X's ability to have free will, named Reploids. When, shockingly, this free will makes some Reploids go rogue and attack humans. These rogue robots are called Mavericks, and the main robots you fight as bosses in these games. To combat them, the Maverick Hunters are formed. They are a group of Reploids designed to combat the Mavericks. The leader of the Maverick Hunters, named Sigma, also created by Kane, becomes a Maverick too, because he's still installing free will in these things for some reason, and basically starts a war between humans and robots. Why are scientists in science fiction the dumbest people on the planet? X, feeling guilty that he was the cause of this, even though he totally wasn't, he joins the Maverick Hunters and with their new leader Zero fights Sigma and his Mavericks to bring peace back to mankind. I find the story of the X games to be okay, kind of fell off around 6 for me. I mean, really the only thing you can compare it to is the original Mega Man, and I'd say if you did, the OG Mega Man comes off more like a Saturday morning cartoon, and X is like a continuous shonen manga. And by continuous shonen manga, I mean, it seems like it's going somewhere, but you know it ultimately isn't because it's gotta keep going until it stops making money. All 3 Mega Man X games on the Super Nintendo are basically the same, kinda like the original Mega Man games. However, one reason even myself and a lot of other fans I think like about the X games compared to the original is the difference in controls. And you'll notice that right away with the first game when you get the dash mechanic. In OG Mega Man, the fastest form of movement is a slide, which you perform by hitting down and the jump button. Here they simplify X's movement by just giving him a dash. If you want, you can even tap the D-pad twice to dash, kind of like a fighting game. Another new mechanic is the wall jump. Mastering this allows you to, jump on walls. Definitely makes some tricky jumps easier, as well as bosses when you know how to use it. There are also hidden health upgrades and armor pieces you can get in the stages to power up. The dash is one of these upgrades, you can't really miss it. The rest you find through secret paths or they're just hidden in the level. And man, let me tell you, when you're fully powered up in this game, it feels fucking great. Especially when you get used to dashing and wall jumping and you're able to go by everything, barely taking any damage. It's so fun. Ultimately though, I can't get over how it's just a Mega Man game. Now it's a damn good one, and it does shake things up control-wise, but the blueprints are still a Mega Man game. 8 stages, 8 bosses, including some good old-fashioned retro gaming bullshit. Actually though, compared to the original Mega Man, I find X to be way easier. The only time I died was in the beginning, when I was getting used to the controls, but after that, I had no trouble with the rest of the game. X2 and 3, I don't have much to say. They are both very identical to me. Similar to the NES Mega Mans, not much was done to differentiate the sequels from the predecessors. I personally find X1 to still be my favorite of the SNES trilogy, maybe of all of them. Mostly because the story and gameplay complemented each other, with X being new to fighting and needing to power up, and getting all the upgrades as you progress felt like it was me, the player, as X slowly getting stronger after each challenge, instead of him just, getting some BS superpower during some cutscene. And the other two just couldn't really replicate that feeling for me. They're still good, but I think one's the best. Alright, let's briefly move on to the next generation, with X4 through 6 that are on the PlayStation. You know what that means? FMV cutscenes. Other than stellar voice acting and the clear graphical and sound improvements, it's just Mega Man's again. It switches it up by letting you have the ability to play as both X and Zero. I chose X every time because we'll talk about Zero later. Other than that, it's some Mega Mans. It's cool how 5 and 6 you get to use Mega Man's super duper armor from the start, having its abilities at all times and having things like the air dash available, auto charge and auto fire options are all welcome quality of life improvements. 5 I think is good but flawed, a lot of RGBS. 6 is full of tons of RGBS. I could get into it, but I'm not. 4 is okay. Now I think X7 is where a lot of fans fell off with the game. For one, Mega Man X isn't even a playable character right away. Yeah, you have to unlock him by either rescuing a certain number of these civilians, I think, or beating all your robot masters. Who replaces X? This little turd named Axel. I don't know if other people like him, but I don't. His voice grates on me and he comes off as a lame fanboy.
Hey, I knew you'd understand. I always thought you and X were so cool.
Worst part though is they fuck up the one thing all X games had going great until this point, the gameplay. Going to 3D models, I guess Capcom decided to go full 3D. There are still side-scrolling platforming sections, but sometimes it goes into this behind-the-back view. The camera view fucks me up sometimes. Like here, the camera is at this weird 2.5D angle, so I naturally hold the controller in the down right position, but instead I just duck and take damage. And even if you figure out what direction you're going, good luck dealing with the controls. The side-scrolling bits are not the worst I've ever felt. That's the nicest thing I can say about those. 3D sections can suck in Mega Buster. I can't really judge my distance between me and the enemy, which isn't a problem for Axel since he has a gun, but Zero you have to get up close and use a saber, and it feels so wrong. You need to get so close that by the time you get there, the enemy fires a shot on you. You can deflect blasts because you know he's got a lightsaber, but it doesn't change the fact that due to the physics, you're going to get hit sometimes. My major problem with this game, though, is how slow it feels. Even dashing doesn't feel nearly as fun as past games. There are cutscenes in between every stage, so much talking, it's like just get to the level, but when you get to the level, it just walks so slow. Look at this walk speed. What is this, Mega Man 8? He also must have been running out of ideas for robots by this point. One of the bosses is a fucking onion. This is supposed to be the Dark series, right? Alright, let's move on to the last game, Mega Man X8. And I'm surprised, it's not complete garbage. You can play as X, Zero, and Axel right off the bat, which is already a step up from 7. Yeah, Axel is back, but don't worry, he's not as annoying as he was before. Each character not only plays differently, but each even get their own weapon after defeating the Mavericks. The gameplay is way better than 7. They enabled turbo mode, so it's not as slow as it used to be. They also got rid of the 3D aspect, aside from some vehicle sections. It doesn't feel as good as the sprite days from 1 through 6, but it's an improvement over 7. This game, I'm pretty sure, is fully voiced, and I'm sad to report, at this time, Capcom hired professional voice actors. Never forget Dr. Wily. The annoying stuff is still here. There are a lot of these rooms where you just kind of do a thing for like 2 minutes, like dodging hazards and killing enemies. These are no better than auto-scrollers to me. They grind the game to a halt real quick. Also, I'm really not liking X lately. His whole thing with the past 2 games is constantly talking about how we shouldn't fight, guys. We gotta find peaceful ways. Yeah, cool, X, didn't you decide to fight because you thought this whole Maverick thing was your fault? Mega Man 8 is a fine game. It's not great, there are definitely better X games, but I had a fun time playing this. It's the game Mega Man X7 should have been. And yeah, this was a shorter one, obviously, because I don't have much to say about the Mega Man X games, because they're just the same as the regular Mega Man games to me, just with a different story. That's all the mainline X games. I guess like I did with OG Mega Man, my favorites in order-ish, I would say are 1, 5, honestly 2, 3, and 4 are all the same to me, 8, 6, and then 7. I'd say when it comes to gameplay, X definitely has it over the OG. Dashing and wall jumping are just too fun. I can see why people love these games so much. Still not really into the world and story personally. Mega Man X5 was actually supposed to be where the story was going to end, but of course Capcom wanted more money, so they made 3 more, and you can tell those games were lacking in the writing department. Yeah, I realize I didn't talk that much about that story, considering that's one of the draws of this game, but to me, action platformer Mega Mans are more about the gameplay than a plot. Don't worry, we'll get to a last story recap for Mega Mans eventually. We sure will. Alright, before we begin, let's address the elephant in the room. I'm not wearing my onesie anymore. I wore that thing for 3 videos straight. It needed a wash. Alright, now that we got that awkward bit out the way, let's look at some Mega Man games on the Game Boy. Here in the States, they are just Mega Man Game Boy games, I guess. Besides the first one, which is given the subtitle Wily's Revenge. In Japan, they are referred to as Rockman World. The games themselves are just 4 bosses from the NES game shoved into a Game Boy game. While the first 4 are just compilations of bosses from the NES games, the 5th one actually has its own original story where Mega Man has to defeat these robots from space called Star Droids. But yes, Wily is behind it. He also can shoot his fist and gets a new robot animal named Tango, a cat that goes apeshit. Neat. How about Mega Man X on the go? Mega Man Extreme for the Game Boy Color. Wait. Honestly, I always avoided Mega Man X, because it always felt like the edgy Mega Man to me, like, it's Mega Man X because it's extreme. I was kidding. Like the Game Boy games, it has its own story, but it's basically Mega Man X, same bosses and everything. I will say, I was expecting this to suck since, well, 2 buttons for a Super Nintendo game, but when you get used to dashing by tapping the D-pad twice, it's not bad. Extreme 2 plays a lot like the first one, but slightly better, a common theme with all Mega Man games. Weirdly, the game is about Maverick ghosts, and it involves the souls of dead Mavericks. They're robots, how do they have souls? The only other X spin-off is Mega Man X Command Mission for the PS2 and GameCube. It's an RPG, a good one, at least as far as I played. It has the system of using weapon energy for sub-weapons along with a main attack to deal damage. Or you can save your weapon energy to unleash a big attack to deal a lot of damage. Kind of reminds me of an SMT game like Digital Devil Saga or something. One thing I'm not into is you have to dash into these items to get them. That annoys me for some reason. Next is Mega Man and Bass, or Rockman and Forte in Japan, which was the only place you could play it on the Super Famicom until it released outside of Japan on the GBA, which is how I played it as a kid. Like the title says, you can play as Mega Man or Bass, but pick Bass. Mega Man plays like he usually does, which is bad for this game, because the levels are clearly designed around Bass. He can fire in multiple directions, has Zero's double jump and X's dash, and yeah, he's better. He can't charge shot though, which makes some bosses harder, but trust me, the stages will give you the most pain. This is arguably the most difficult Mega Man game. Enemies do a lot of damage, tight timings for passing obstacles, and tons of instant death crap. Retro gaming bullshit turned up to 11 here. This next game is a weird one, Street Fighter X Mega Man. This was apparently a fan game made by someone in Singapore, and Capcom saw it and supported it, helping him make it. And then they released it for free for Mega Man's 25th anniversary. And yeah, it's exactly as advertised. It's a classic Mega Man game, but with Street Fighter characters as the bosses. One thing that command grabs my shoto is the respawn rate of enemies. Look at this. This had to be programmed in intentionally, no way this was left in by accident. Other than that, I can't hate on this game, or more like I don't want to, because it was a passion project made by love from a fan and supported by the company, so it gets an A+ from me. Now let's get into some real spin-offs. Made for the Famicom, it's Wily and Light No Rock Board. That's paradise. It's a typical business type board game, like Monopoly or Fortune Street. You go around, you buy properties, fuck over your competition, a classic family game night tradition. On Super Nintendo, it's Mega Man Soccer, and boy does this game suck. It runs like shit, and whenever the camera moves to follow the ball, I can never get my bearings to take it before the computer does. Next, it's your obligatory mascot kart racer, Mega Man Battle and Chase on PS1. I will say, for a spin-off kart racer, it has a lot of voice acting. But that's probably because of the CD technology hype of the time. Not really a fan of this one. It's not bad, but the races can be very boring. Having them be 5 laps make them drag out, and you can easily get so far ahead that no one bothers you. I do like how each character has a special action they can do at any time, like Mega Man has his charge shot, and you get an item by killing enemies that are on the track. Some neat ideas here, but I'll stick to Crash Team Racing personally. Now for remakes. Mega Man The Wily Wars was released only in Japan and Europe on the Genesis. It's a remake of the first 3 Mega Mans with saving and updated everything. I say stick to NES though, here the controls feel stiffer than the NES games. Also, I usually love the way the Genesis sounds, but the music here isn't as good as NES in my opinion. I guess if you were Sega only at the time and wanted to play Mega Man, this was as good as it got. On the PSP, there were 2 remakes. First is Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, a complete remake of Mega Man X with 3D graphics, and it even has more playable characters and a full anime OVA included. Honestly though, I again say stick to the original. Not that the game is bad, it just doesn't feel as good to play as the original. Also, for some reason they moved the dash boots. Why? The original had them in the way of progress, so you can't miss them. Here they hide it where new players can miss one of the most fun mechanics of X. Just why? If you prefer to stick to the original, then try Mega Man Powered Up, a complete remake of the first Mega Man game. They even gave it a story and voice acting and added difficulty modes. They also added 2 new Robot Masters to bring the count up to 8. You got Time Man and Oil Man, who I think I'm supposed to be offended by. Yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about this one. You want to experience Mega Man, but a little bit easier, pick this up on your PSP. People still have those, right? Finally, let's take a look at the cult classic series of Mega Man games, Mega Man Legends. This is a third-person action shooter. The controls take some getting used to since it's PS1, and these types of games were not common yet. You use the L and R buttons to turn and aim. It takes a while for used to today's control scheme. I think Mega Man had an okay transition to 3D, but everyone remembers this game for its story and characters. Mega Man here, called Mega Man Walnut, is a digger who lives on a planet filled mostly by water, and most landmasses are just islands. As a digger, he goes into ruins of the flooded earth to find treasures. During it all, there are pirates, missing parents, forgotten memories, and today Walnut is trapped on another planet. Forever! I'm surprised that, for a PS1 game, there's a lot of voice acting. I'd argue more than most modern day games. There are also cutscenes using in-game models with some good animation and expressions. It really helps to get you sucked into the world when playing it. Mega Man Legends 2 is even better. For one, it uses the newfangled DualShock controller, allowing you to use analog sticks, which, needless to say, makes aiming and shooting way more intuitive. And it's still got that Mega Man Legends charm, so it's just an all-around upgrade. Don't know why Zenny looks like rupees now, but whatever. Might as well look at the Legends spin-off, The Misadventures of Tronbon. The goal is to earn 1 million Zenny so Tronbon can pay off a massive debt her brother gained. You earn money by doing 3 types of missions, each with their own style of gameplay. First one controls similar to the original Legends games, you just go around robbing people in your mech. Another is a puzzle game trying to steal containers, and the last is a sort of first-person dungeon crawler. I find them all to be quite fun. For a spin-off of a spin-off, there's also a lot of voice work here still. Servbots are hilarious and the dialogue between them and Tronbon can be very entertaining.
Listen carefully. I'll shoot a beacon bomb over there. You go push the switch, all right? But Miss Tron, what happens if we get hit by the big ball? Well, we'll see what happens. Don't worry, it won't hurt that much. But Miss Tron!
We may not have a third Mega Man Legends, but we do have 3 great games about that universe. Alright, let's move on to the main event of this video, the Zero games. Now these were the first side-scrolling Mega Man games I played, and along with Mega Man Battle Network, helped introduce me to the series. Despite loving these games a lot, I haven't played them since maybe back in high school, I think. And yeah, I even skipped out on the Mega Man Zero collection that came out a while ago because, well, I already own the games, so I don't really want to buy them again. We may be exchanging blue for red, but similar to the other Mega Man games, these are all made on the same console about a year apart, so they play very similar to each other. One aspect that is different from Mega Man Blue is Zero's story takes place through all 4 games on the GBA. It's not episodic, the end of each game leads directly into the next one. There are reoccurring characters, these characters have arcs, and they all come to a conclusion by the end of Zero 4. I don't really want to go into it because in my opinion this is the best Mega Man story so far, and the Zero collection is right there, go play it. Just so we're on the same page though, the story revolves around Zero, who is reawakened after the events of one of the X's. Capcom kind of fucked up that timeline. He's woken by a human scientist named Ciel, however, when he is woken up, Zero loses all of his past memories and is a shell of his former self combat-wise. Ciel needs his help to defend against the forces of Neo Arcadia, a society of humans and Reploids run by a clone of Mega Man X. There's an energy crisis in Neo Arcadia, and in order to save energy, Clone X has branded all Reploids Mavericks, and wants to kill them all because if there are no more robots using energy, then they'll save energy. I mean, makes sense to me. The games follow Zero and the Resistance Force as they fight against the Neo Arcadian forces to bring back peace between Reploid and humans. Like I said though, this game is continuous, so the story has some twists and turns to keep it from being the same as other games. Hell, the actual main antagonist doesn't even show up until the 3rd game, and you don't even fight him in it. When I replay these games, I feel like I have to play them all in a row, because that's how you get the full story. It's also the darkest Mega Man story. You thought X was mature, Zero makes that look like Mega Man fully charged. The gameplay is awesome. While other Megas are more about patience and taking your time, Zero is fast-paced action. While the games add and remove different stuff as the series goes on, there are some consistent elements. The control is similar to X with a dash and wall jump mechanic. You also have access to 2 weapons at all times. Your weapons usually consist of a blaster and a variety of melee weapons, like Zero's sword, a shield boomerang, the claw, and fist. I exclusively use the sword cause, come on, I'm playing Zero, I want to cut bitches. In the first 2 you need to level up your weapons by using them to kill enemies. Doing this gives you access to more charge levels and attacks. After 3, all the weapons come fully upgraded at the start, which is great. It would be a pain in the ass if every game you had to do that. Problem with that is, in the first game it uses this mission system, which I'll talk more about later, but you pretty much can't replay levels. So if you need to level up a weapon, you need to find a spot in a level and stick to it, cause once it's gone, it's gone. Each game has cyber elves, these creatures you can use to heal you, and they do other stuff, but I mostly use them for healing, similar to an E-Tank in other games. After each stage you're graded depending on how well you did, similar to a hack and slash game like Devil May Cry. The ranking actually matters too. Not in 1, you just need an A or better to get an exclusive Cyber Elf in Ciel's room. But in every other game, if you want to get the special boss skills and weapons like a classic Mega Man's, you need to retain an A rank or better, otherwise you're stuck with Zero's standard moves. Your rank decreases as you take damage, die, use Cyber Elves, take too long at a stage. Basically you gotta play like a top level speedrunner. I'm terrible at video games, and I die all the time, so I never got those powers. Maybe one day I'll graduate from being a Godspeed Edge boy and become a Godspeed Edge man. So that's it, video done right. Zero games are great. They got amazing music, graphics, gameplay, story, It's all there. It's the perfect Mega Man's. That's the problem. You're still playing Mega Man. You have stages you can play in any order. At the end of each stage, there's a boss. After killing all bosses, there's a gauntlet of stages, followed by a boss rush, followed by the final boss. Why, Capcom? Why, after making every other aspect of this game different, you keep that one core thing of Mega Man's? I don't want to see another boss rush as long as I live. The first game does it different enough, as you have missions that continue from each other. For example, you go take over an enemy factory, then a later mission has you go back to that factory to defend it from an enemy attack trying to retake it. Or after this desert one, which is one of the worst escort missions I've played in recent memory, you go back and discover the enemy's secret base. I thought this was a clever way to reuse levels as well as keep it from just being go here, kill a guy. Which every game after one is what it devolves into, and I feel it breaks the pacing of the game. The first one's mission structure really felt like I was helping the Resistance by going on these missions. It just so happened that there was a boss character waiting for me at the end, which makes sense in the context of the story that the Neo-Arcadians would try to stop me. Every other game it felt like I was just playing a Mega Man game, but with a more fleshed out story. 3 was the worst in my opinion with this. While the missions do make sense in the context of the story, just structurally, it made it feel like it wasn't natural at all. I was watching this engaging story I was familiar with these characters I care about, but before I continue, I gotta play a Mega Man game. By 4, it's just that. 8 bosses on a screen, a mid-stage, final stages. These games are still great, but whenever I made it to that level select screen or boss rush spot, I didn't want to keep playing because I've done this so many fucking times. How many fucking times are you gonna do this? I'm sorry. 1 is the best to me just because it feels like I'm playing a different game. The other 3 are great and even improve on some aspects, but just feel like Mega Man games with the speed up function turned on. I just can't deal with another boss rush. Every time I close my eyes, I just see 8 tubes ready to transport me. I can't take it. Okay. Got some water. It's all good. We're fine. We got 2 more games to look at. The ZX games. And interestingly, the ZX games take a heavy departure from the series, being Metroidvanias. But they still end with fucking boss rushes. The Zero games were hits, so when the DS came out, the developers, Inti Creates, were given the chance to continue the story. Which if you play Zero 4, you should know is impossible. So once again, taking place centuries later, we are introduced to new characters in ZX and ZX Advent. And unfortunately, these sequels don't live up to the original in my opinion. ZX, you can choose a gender, but as far as I know, this doesn't affect anything. The game plays out exactly the same. The story is nowhere near as good as Zero. You're just some generic chosen one, and your personality is basically, I will protect everyone. In other words, boring. The actual plot of the Model W, it's so uninteresting, I began tuning it out after a while. While the story is lackluster, the gameplay, like most Mega Mans, is where it shines. Like I said before, these are Metroidvanias, and those unfamiliar with the term, it describes a game that plays similar to Metroid or the mid-2000s-ish Castlevania games. Is that how I describe them? Things common with these kinds of games are open worlds with maps that tell you where to go, but before you can get to certain places you need to get upgrades along the way that allow you to backtrack and will let you progress the story once you get, the certain item you need. I actually found this to be a great way to shake up the Mega Man formula. Yes, ultimately you're still fighting a bunch of bosses after a level and then a boss rush, but adding this different way of getting there did make it feel unique to me. Granted, the map system is pretty ass. Look at a map from Metroid. You got left, right, up, down. Simple to understand. Here though, everything is a diagonal. And sometimes you'll go left, but end up going down, right. And why do you have going down, right when I go left? It's a side scroller. Now the game controls like Mega Man Zero to no one's surprise. You do get different forms and weapons after beating certain bosses, and you will only use Model H's form because you get an air dash and a double jump. But why would you use any other form? Sad part is, once you've settled into the idea that it's a Mega Man Zero game in the style of Metroid, it doesn't have much else going for it, especially with the sequel, ZX Advent. This one, your character choice does matter. The opening level is different. That's it. The story is worse. In this one, I couldn't tell you what it's about. I stopped caring an hour in. Also, this game is voiced, and weirdly horny.
So now that your appetites have been wet for booty,
I'm going to go ahead and meet our booty face to face.
Booty is always in the lead airship. We always go in from the back and end up messing it all up.
Of course, you're my booty. And you'll be going with me. I'll give you a taste of my special nectar.
One thing that annoyed me was every time you enter a cutscene, it transforms you into your base A form. Why? What's the point? It's in-game models talking with text boxes. The last game didn't do that. I know that's a nitpick, but it's something that happens a lot, and it really annoyed me. One new thing is you can actually transform into bosses, which is not as cool as it sounds. Each form is very situational and is only used in specific spots to get items, or to progress in the stage you play after the one you got it in. This one's not even useful on land, and that's 90% of the game, you're on land. And if I'm in the water, I'd use the other form. What's the point of this? I didn't realize it for a while either, why Model A's voice got on my nerves, but then it hit me. The annoying voice, your character uses dual guns, the X universe. It's based off Axel. Fuck. Good thing I barely used it. Aw man, I sure have played a lot of Mega Man games so far, more than any human should. Well, next up on my list is the Mega Man Battle Network series, a favorite of mine. And there's 6 long JRPGs. And they have their own spin-offs. I'm going to take a break from Mega Man for a while. This thing is really hot. Mega Man, the blue-balled bomber. For years, Nintendo fans and later PlayStation would enjoy his fun-as-hell gameplay and hard-as-shit difficulty. If you wanted something a bit more mature and fast-paced, you had the X games, which was Mega Man with a side of edge. While most fans will tell you this is where they got their start with the series, and it's what most people think of when they hear Mega Man, me personally, I never experienced them until, well, a couple months ago when I made videos about them. I was introduced to Mega Man through the Game Boy Advance games, the side-scrolling action I got from the Zero games, and hating my life decisions I got from Mega Man and Bass. But my main introduction to the series proper was with the Mega Man Battle Network games. Battle Network was the biggest departure from the usual Mega Mans. Even in Legends, the core gameplay was still running, jumping, and shooting, dying. Mega Man Battle Network was instead an RPG, a very big departure from what Capcom fans were used to, depending on who you ask. Battle Network takes place where else in the year 20XX, where technology has become so advanced everything is everything. Mega Man and the other, men are present, but instead of being robots, they are now digital programs known as NetNavis, stored in devices known as personal terminals, or PETs for short. They're pretty much sentient Tamagotchis, or I guess they're more like thinking Siris or Alexas, because they do everything. Keep your schedule, deliver mail, engage in Mortal Kombat. Navis can't act alone, they need humans to operate them. Most of them are brand new characters, others are this universe's take on the few human characters in Mega Man. Our protagonist is Lan Hikari, Mega Man's operator. The Mega Man in this series is often referred to as Mega Man.exe, I'm just gonna call him Mega Man. Lan's friends also have familiar characters from other Mega Man series. Mail, the girl and love interest, operates Roll. Dex, the sort of best friend and sort of rival, operates Gutsman. And Yai, the stereotypical spoiled rich girl, uses Glide. The last two, some hardcore Mega Man fans will notice, are based on characters from Mega Man Legends. Yeah, this series will often reference other games in the franchise in multiple ways, either through little nods in the world, extra bosses, or they're actually integrated into the story in some way. Yai and Glide aren't the only Legends references, though. You'll see more sprinkled throughout the games, as many of the people who worked on Legends also worked on Battle Network. Glad to see the best role design again. This is not up for debate. Mega Man Battle Network is definitely the most expansive series in the Mega Man franchise. Not only are there the video games, but it also has a manga series as well as an anime series that has 5 seasons and a film. I'm just going to stick with the games here. I'm not going to get into the anime and manga and stuff, as the whole point of this series is to me to look back on the games specifically, both ones that I haven't played, like the original ones, and then games like this that are from my childhood, taking a look at them almost, 2 decades later. Oh, and because I know Uber fans sometimes find these videos I make about these obscure niche things, and they like to comment how I don't mention some very specific thing about the story or the gameplay or some part of the production. That's fine, feel free to do that. Like, I really mean any comment or anything helps the video, I do appreciate it. Just know I'm going into all of these like I do with everything, in a very casual way. I'm just looking back at games from my childhood and playing them like I would any other game. I'm not here to 100% them and mention every little aspect of them or things about its development cycle and history behind the franchise, how it got to where it is. That's not really how I do things. I'll mention anything I find interesting on the fan wiki, that's about as far as I go. Okay, with that out of the way, we do have 6 RPGs to look at along with 4 spin-off titles, so why don't we stop dicking around and jack in to the first game, Mega Man Battle Network on the Game Boy Advance. Now, this may come as a shock to you for a Game Boy Advance title made for children, but the stories of these games are not complicated. This one, for example, involves an evil organization called World 3. Yes, I called it WWW as a kid, too. They're of course led by this universe's version of the evil Dr. Wily, and they plan on using a life virus which doesn't do what you think it does. Since pretty much everything's connected to the internet, the plan is to use the virus to interrupt every device, making them go berserk, infecting them with viruses, things like that. Of course, our guy, Lanakari, is on the case as he finds himself a part of some of World 3's plots by circumstance and makes it his mission to stop them. The 11-year-old. Halfway through the game, you run into Eugene Chaud. Yes, that's his real name. He operates Protoman.exe and is an official net battler, which basically allows him to fight cyber terrorism. The 11-year-old, or he's probably older, like 12 or 13, I didn't bother to look it up. He essentially acts as your rival, and that's it. He doesn't get much beyond that in the game. I do like how he tries to act like he's the coolest motherfucker ever with a name like Eugene Chaud. Like, come on. No one can take him seriously, right? My headcanon is that I imagine he thinks he's really cool, but everyone actually sees him as a huge nerd. If you haven't picked up on it yet, this is basically another version of the classic Mega Man story. Lan's last name is Akari, which is Japanese for light. His dad, who most people call Dr. Akari, made Mega Man, and turns out Waiwi's whole scheme is to get revenge on Lan's grandfather, Tadashi Akari, who looks exactly like Santa. While I like the nod to the original series, gotta admit, after playing all the Mega Man games, kinda wish it wasn't Waiwi. At least X had Sigma for something different, and while it and the Zero games would integrate Waiwi and somehow, at least he wasn't the main threat, just a mention to attempt to tie all the games together while still doing its own thing. I think they should have come up with their own new villain since the game is so different from other Mega Mans. Like I said, it's a neat rendition of the Waiwi Light rivalry. I give it points for that, but just in the back of my mind while playing it, it feels like the same formula story-wise. Even the structure of how you get to Waiwi is similar, going to fight a bunch of robots, or in this case programs, that work for Waiwi who cause havoc in the world until you make it to his castle fortress thing at the end. I know this is a matter of perspective, because as a kid, this being my first intro to Mega Man, this totally went over my head. But now with context, I was like, ugh, this bitch again? Of course, the main difference is how you get to these bosses. Unlike other games where you have the freedom to choose who you fight at your leisure, this being an RPG, you fight them in order the story gives them to you. One thing I liked about the beginning of the story was how Lan just kinda got caught up in the World 3 schemes. He wasn't actively seeking them. Beginning is the key word here. For example, he only fights Fireman because the guy happened to install a virus in his oven in his house. He only fights Numberman because they chose his school and his classroom to do some indoctrination lesson. Even when he tries to help when they start fucking with the water of the town, the adults are like, fuck off, you're a kid, go play Pokemon or whatever. So Lan has to hide and wait for all the adults to leave in order to do something. I like this method. It made Lan feel like just a kid who happened to be good at deleting viruses with his program, but all the adults see him as a kid because he is. I know it sounds weird for a series based in the future with battling NetNavis, but it kind of grounded the story for me. Of course, halfway through this game, and for every single game after it, that idea is long abandoned, but we'll get there when we get there. Now, I actually like the structure of the story. I think it works for a handheld game. Essentially, it's split up into multiple scenarios that seem random but are connected in some way, like Lan will encounter a World 3 member one day, you beat them, then the game kind of puts you in the state where you can do whatever you want that is available at the time. When you feel like progressing the story, you usually go to sleep and then it informs you usually weeks or months pass in-game. And then you start the next scenario. And I think this works great for a handheld title. Once you beat a scenario, that's your cue to either go explore and power up or save the game and take a break. It's obviously not the greatest story in gaming, and if you're playing this during a long session like I did, the pacing feels weird because that's obviously not how it's meant to be played, but I still enjoyed it. Well, let's get to what we play games for, the gameplay. Like I said, this is an RPG, and it sort of takes a mix of turn-based and action elements. At the start of each battle, Lan sends Mega Man battle chips, which are essentially one-use skills that deal big damage, heal Mega Man, or have some other effect to help you in battle. Once you select your chips, you go into the action part. Moving around in a 6x3 grid, divided in half, one side for you, one side for the enemy, you do what Mega Man does best here, move around, dodge enemies, and use your Mega Buster. This is also when you use the chips, which will be your main damage dealing method. Once you're out of chips, you use your Buster, which deals a set amount of damage that can be upgraded by progressing through the game. When you run out of chips, you wait for the meter at the top to fill up, allowing you to select more chips to send to Mega Man. Chips you can send are found in your deck. That's right, baby, we got card game mechanics. Your deck has to have a minimum of 30 chips, and you can have up to 10 copies of what is called a standard chip. This will change as the games progress, and eventually will be limited to 4 copies per chip, similar to most card games. There are special chips called Navi chips that you get through progression or through extra bosses. These call other navies that usually deal a large amount of damage and don't really miss sometimes. If it helps, think of them like summons in other games. You can only have 5 navi chips at one time in this game, but again, that will change in the future. Each of these chips also have a code as well, represented by a letter. So you can select multiple chips that are the same. For example, you can select 2 cannons for one turn, but you won't also be able to select a healing chip. Except if the 2 cannons you pick have a code L, and healing also has L, then you can select them all for one turn. This adds a lot of thought into your deck building process. Do you simply get one of the best chips and spam it in there? Or do you have a variety of chips with similar codes so you can do more actions in one turn? I know that all sounds kind of complicated, and I hope I explained it well, but trust me, after a few fights and editing your deck a couple times, it'll be second nature. Personally, early on I tried to go for a lot of chips that shared similar codes so I can make the most out of my turns, but as the game progressed and as I got new chips, I simply started substituting out the old weaker chips for the stronger ones, not thinking of any synergy. That's standard for me. I play all kinds of cards, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and the deck building process has always been my least favorite part. I much rather prefer the actual playing, so that probably led to my late game methodology. I do think the system is the best part of Battle Network. That first time I sat down and actually thought about what to prioritize when making a deck, and then using it in action, and that feeling I get knowing my method worked, oh, it's so satisfying. This and the fact that there are 175 chips in the game probably means you can have multiple playthroughs with completely different builds. Okay, so where do you even get more of these chips? Well, you do eventually unlock a shop in the game that sells some decent chips, but not a lot. Your main method will be through random drop rates. Those are the chips you get by beating enemies and are usually based on enemy actions. I assume this is to simulate how classic Mega Man would use enemy weapons. At the end of every fight, you get a ranking based on how fast you killed everything, how much damage you took, and how efficient it was done, meaning not missing your shots. Capcom loves a ranking system, I guess. Lowest is 1 and the highest is an S rank. The higher your rank, the more likely you'll get a rare chip. I absolutely did not bother farming chips in this game. I did explore a lot and fought some of the extra bosses, but my goal was to finish the game while doing some side stuff. Another method to get chips are these chip traders. You put in a bunch of useless chips you probably don't need for a chance of getting a new chip. Most of the time though, it's one I already have 5 copies of because I have shit luck, which is why I don't play gacha games, or I would be in debt, or more debt than I already am. You may have noticed at the end of each fight you don't get experience. You either get a chip or money, so how does Mega Man get better? Well, you do this by finding power-ups, most of them in chests scattered throughout the world, or by purchasing them from merchants on the net. This is why it's worth it to explore, because trust me, you don't need them, but they make the game a hell of a lot easier. Plus, it's just really fun to figure out what weird shit you can jack into. There are 2 kinds of power-ups, HP memories, which raise your HP, and the simply titled power-up chips. These let you strengthen one of Mega Man's 3 skills for his Buster. You can upgrade the damage, how fast he can fire, and his charge speed. But if you want my advice, put it all on damage and charge. Damage should be obvious, and you only unlock charge when you get it to level 2, so get that early at least. You can deal up to 16 times the damage when fully charged. Even without chips, you can do some real work with it. You can optionally also get armor from merchants based on wood, fire, and water respectively. Which, I don't know why, but it bothered me that they didn't change Mega Man's color. I mean, every game has done this since literally the first one on NES, and it just annoyed me more than it should have. Anyway, this armor has the damage you take, but if you're hit by that armor's weakness, you take double the damage. For example, if you have the wood armor and you fight Fireman, you get fucked. Yeah, I didn't mention some chips and enemies have elemental weaknesses. I didn't mention them because they never really matter. Yeah, you deal double damage if they're weak to it, but you don't deal any less damage if they're strong against it or the same elements, so I never paid attention to it because I never got punished for not paying attention to it. The battle system, while being fun and customizable, being the first game, it obviously needs a lot of tweaking. For example, some enemies have hard to read patterns like these Pac-Man mortars. You can only hit them when they attack, but the game has no hint or indication of when they are gonna attack, so you have to just guess most of the time. Hitboxes on some enemies are garbage too, like these clouds. Fuck these clouds. They go up and down, but even when they're down, when they should be hit, I still miss them. What? And they have this annoying attack that stays on the field until they die. Fuck these things. While there were some annoying stuff, I did not find the game to be difficult. Maybe it's because I played this before, but like I said, I did go out of my way to get upgrades and some good chips, so around the mid-game I was not struggling in fights. What helped this is that Mega Man heals automatically in between fights, so you don't need to stock up on healing items or anything. They're not even present in the game. In fact, because of this, I found myself kind of brute forcing most of it, because I knew I'd get a free heal after every fight, so I feel like it made the game too easy. Also, you can save anywhere, so if you save often enough, even if you do die, you'll never have to retry long segments. So with that said, you probably think I had an easy time with this game, right? I did. But then, you get to the last dungeon. And the last dungeon is where this game takes that fuckery meter right there and just dials it up to 11. Yeah, if you've played the game, you know what dungeon I'm talking about. The power plant dungeon. Holy shit. So, where to begin? Well, notice this battery in the top right, it's a time limit. When it runs out, Mega Man can't auto-heal between battles anymore. That wouldn't be so bad, except by now you're fighting the most annoying and damaging enemies in the game, so auto-healing by this point will save your ass more often than before, so you kinda need it. Now that's sorta bad, but there's more. The dungeon also has invisible paths. Sometimes there are good hints to tell you where to go, but a lot of the time you have to take a guess with no indication or hint of where a path is. That's bad enough, but on top of that, they throw in the most confusing puzzle in the entire game. You get the batteries, right? And then you put them in the slots. But if you put them in the wrong slots, you gotta take them out, and you gotta go back, and you gotta get them recharged. And that wastes time, which you can't do here. And then you get sidetracked because you get in a battle and you kind of forget. And then you get more batteries, and then a puzzle with some more slots. So you have to save the game so you can reset. And when you fuck up, you reset, you battle some more, but then the timer's running down, so you need to get more batteries. So you save the game, you place the battery, you pick up the battery, it leads to another bigger puzzle. You place the battery, you're out of batteries, you gotta get the batteries you just used, and then you battle some more, time's going down, recharge the batteries, place the battery, pick up the battery, more battery. This is hell. This is what hell is like. Next time I think I need to tell someone to go to hell, instead I'll say, go to the Power Plant Dungeon in Mega Man Battle Network on the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good, but I think the point still gets across. I swear to God, if one of you fucking comments saying, oh, I had no trouble with this, you actually expect me to think that back in the day when you were a kid, and you got to this dungeon, and without any guides or walkthroughs or any pre-knowledge of it, you had no trouble with this dungeon, you're a fucking liar. I just don't believe you. If you ever bought this game used or you borrowed it from a friend and you hit that continue button, 10 times out of 10, they would be in this dungeon. It's that fucking bad. But okay, you get through it, you beat Electman, and then you're like, okay, after all that bullshit, the game's gotta take it easy on me, right, wrong. That was the last long dungeon with puzzles, but now the goal is to find the World 3 base. To do this, we need to go to the Undernet, this game's version of the Deep Web. To get there, we need memos from 4 ex-World 3 members. 2 of the 4 are easy to get. It's the other 2 that are a problem. One you get from this old man who gives it to you on 2 conditions. One I think is based on Mega Man's level, but if you've been getting power-ups and exploring, this shouldn't be a problem. And again, I'm not too sure if this is one of the criteria. The other is you have to convince the female member. The ex-female member is, strangely, the twin sister of your homeroom teacher. Yeah, your homeroom teacher's twin sister is a retired cyber terrorist that teaches at a Sunday school now. Random. The problem is this bitch won't give you her memo unless you have 60 of the 175 chips recorded in your library. I hate walls like this. Now for me this was not a problem. At this point I only needed 1 more chip. But here's the thing. Remember, I've been doing every fight. I've been getting great ranks and have been getting decent chip drops. I've been going out of my way to explore, get chips and items that are completely optional. I've even been doing the extra bosses to get their special chips. Even though I've been doing all that, I'm still 1 short. Are you kidding me? Imagine a kid comes to this point. A kid who might not be as good. A kid who probably ran away from some fights, especially with the last dungeon being how it was. Or someone who's just interested in the story and didn't really care for the side content and was beat. I would imagine people like that would have maybe 30 to 40 chips by this point. And again, at the time when guides were not as abundant online, you don't know how much you need. She doesn't give you a specific number or anything. Hell, even when I looked it up, people online seem to swear that it was 70 chips, that's how many you needed, but no, it's 60. So even people who claim to know this game don't know shit, so you come to this point and you realize you have to do possibly hours of grinding. What do you think the average kid's gonna do? Actually do it? Or turn it off? Yeah, I don't think walls like this should exist. I think the punishment for players not doing all the side stuff or maybe doing some extra things should be just getting their ass kicked by enemies. Yeah, I know it's to prepare you for the end bits of the game, make sure you're all ready, but you don't really need that many chips. You're probably not going to use all of them anyway. And remember, I have been doing that. I've been going around, I've been exploring, I've been doing all the things, and even I ended up short. That's kind of ridiculous. Alright, well anyways, after you fulfill her stupid criteria, you get the memos, and after traversing the web and beating Bomb Man, you get the base location. Lan wants to take them on himself, but his dad rightly says, no, these are dangerous terrorists, you stupid kid. Then Lan's like, come on, Dad! And his dad's like, okay son, but are you willing to risk starting a war? Who says that to a kid? And Lan's like, yeah, Dad, I'll take responsibility for war. And Dad's like, cool, go get those terrorists. So we get to the base, and you'd expect, okay, it's the last level in a Mega Man game, probably gonna have a boss rush, all Mega Mans have them. Well, no, which, thank God for me, I'm still sick of them. Instead, it's a dungeon rush, where you go through mini dungeons of all the past ones. No! Well, okay, it's better here. There's no time limit, and the battery puzzles are gone. It's a lot better. You just have to deal with the invisible paths. At the end of each dungeon, one of the Goon Squad comes to help out to attempt at some sort of power of friendship bookend. It comes out of nowhere. Once you make it to the end of the electric one, you better save, because you're gonna have to fight the last 2 bosses in a row with no saves in between. The first one, Magic Man, in my opinion, is the hardest boss in the game. He's super easy alone, just stands there and shoots in a straight line. But he summons random enemies to fight with him. And of course, it's the most annoying and damaging ones. Look at all this shit you gotta dodge. This is fucking impossible. It doesn't feel good beating him. It feels more like I was just lucky with the enemy spawns. After that, we get some exposition on Mega Man's creation. Really? Now? Remember, this is the end of the game, and we can't save, and just got done beating the biggest RNG fest boss, and still have the last one to deal with. Who's reading this? Your adrenaline's probably pumping right at this point. You want to finish this thing, not read lore. Well, whatever, we're here, so we might as well get the lore. Let's see, AIs, blah blah blah. Human DNA, okay, that's weird. I had a son. Something bad happened. Had to save it. Yeah, turns out Mega Man is Lan's dead brother. Or I guess he's not dead. He's alive in the data. What can I say about that? I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good twist. Like, it's not like it comes out of nowhere, by the way. This is hinted at throughout the story that something's up with Mega Man. But like, what am I supposed to say to this? I can't dig too much into this, you know? I mean, yeah, it brings up a lot of implications, of course, about like life, death, reincarnation, how much of Mega Man is Lan's brother. Can you really transport all of a human mind into Data? Is it really right to force your son to live forever as Data and watch everyone else grow old and die? Did Lan's dad accidentally just find a way to make people immortal? And many more implications I know for a fact this series will never acknowledge, because it's also the same series that has a Mission Impossible spoof with Rom Cruise. So after that mindfuck, the last boss, not much to say. He's not that bad once you get the pattern. I mean, I did die once, so yeah, I had to fight fucking Magic Man again. But after that, he was no problem, just took some patience. So Wii is beaten, the day is saved, no one addresses the fact Mega Man has the soul of Lan's dead brother, or your teacher sister is an ex-terrorist. They all yuck it up, crime is committed off-screen, and the game ends with Lan going to stop it, because like in the real world, the police are useless. I mean, wow. The last part of that game, huh? Yeah, I was surprised. For some reason, I don't really remember the huge difficulty spike that was the power plant dungeon, as well as the big wall that it had there near the end, or even the dead brother thing. Overall, I'd say BM1 is fine. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's pretty good, but kind of similar to, you know, the other ones from the Mega Man games. It's like, it's not really a reason to go back to it, considering, you know, the sequels probably do it better. Except X. X1's still probably my favorite. Now again, I didn't do it, but I figured I might as well address the post-game. What you can do afterwards, of course, is collecting all the chips. And once you do, you can go further into the deep web and fight a secret last boss, being Bass. Now some of you probably already commented because I said Mega Man and Bass earlier, but I know his name is Bass, Bass and Treble, Rock and Roll. I see the musical references in Mega Man, I'm not fucking stupid. Hell, I didn't even mention the town Lan lives in is called ACDC Town. But I called him Bass as a kid because that's how it's spelled. The musical references didn't mean anything to me at the time, so he's Bass forever, deal with it. When you beat Bass, he gives you the Life Aura, which negates damage dealt to you that is less than 100. If that's the last thing you do in the game, and that's what you get, then what's the point of it then? Well, there's the multiplayer. Yes, to really sell this TCG aspect, you can trade and battle other people if you had a link cable. I never knew anyone else who had this game as a kid, so I never experienced that, but I assume social kids had a good time with it. I guess if you want to go beyond that, Battle Network has a competitive scene. That's pretty cool. Last thing about the first game to mention is a remake, one released way before the Battle Network collection. It was only released exclusively in Japan for the DS, titled Operation Shooting Star. Like most re-releases, it contains some fixes to the mechanics of the game, as well as some new chips, new things to do, and being on the DS, you can touch Mega Man. I can finally hug my dead brother. The biggest thing this game did was really integrate the spiritual successor to Battle Network, Mega Man Starforce, into the game. Not like as an extra boss or anything, no, they added a whole mandatory extra scenario that not only has you fight Starforce Mega Man, who time traveled from the future, by the way, that's why he's here, that's the story. You also unlock him for use, as you can actually play as him in battle. But that's all I'll say about Geostellar for now. His story will be the finale of this series. Alright, enough about the first one, let's move on to Battle Network 2. Now keep in mind as we go through this, similar to the other Mega Man videos, I'm going to have less to say about each sequel in the series, as they all are basically the same game, just with slight gameplay adjustments, maybe a new mechanic here or there, and of course a different story. In this game, Mega Man and Lan need to stop an organization named Gospel, who, what else, want to destroy/take over the world. Who cares about that? It's summer vacation. Mega Man, I know what we're gonna do today. Stop a cyber terrorist plot. After saving Yai from suffocation and admiring her skinned Pikachu rug, what the fuck? Lan takes the test to become an official city net battler like Chad was in the last game, now fully justifying why we leave these cyber terrorist incidents to a child. Then the kids go camping, and teach other kids it's easy to start fires. You might be wondering, why don't we ever see these kids under some kind of adult supervision? Well, keep wondering, because after camp we get to go to an entirely different country all by ourselves, and my balls haven't even dropped yet. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, I get to the airport and my wallet gets stolen, and when I make it to the country, a cabbie fucking threatens to kill me if I don't give him my battle chips. What the fuck? If that's not enough, on the flight home, my plane gets hijacked. Thanks for letting me go, Mom, you suck. Anyways, I'm gonna skip to the end of the story. So Gospel's plan is to revive some ultimate super Navi and make clones of it to do the evil. We go to their base and our friends show up out of fucking nowhere again. I have not seen these assholes since I went camping with them like 10 hours ago, and all of a sudden they show up at the enemy base to shoehorn in some kind of power friendship crap. Again. Well, whatever, we confront the Gospel leader and find out he's cloned the ultimate Navi, who is this dark destructive force we can't hope to beat. Oh, it's just Bass again. And he's really easy, I assume because he's a clone. Not to mention, he went from a secret endgame boss to the penultimate one. Talk about a demotion. We beat him, and it turns out the leader of Gospel, this global cyber terrorist organization, is some kid. Some other shit happens and Bass forms into that, and okay, get this shit. Lan can't send battle chips to Mega Man, so Mega Man uses some plot, and now Lan sends his chips, not with his PET, but with love. Kill me. The last boss is actually kinda hard, had to retry him twice. But we win and find out this kid started Gospel because he was lonely, and he was abused as a kid. You're a terrorist. Well, Lan's dad says it seemed like he was being controlled by some evil force. Who could it be? Could the password to get into the Gospel HQ being World 3 mean anything? Or could one of the post-game dungeons being the World 3 server be a clue? Nah, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Let's enjoy the rest of summer. If you can't tell from my incredibly in-depth explanation, I checked out a BN2 story like halfway through. It's weird, the game is incredibly cheesy and hokey, but it's also taking itself really seriously at the same time. There were so many times where I laughed at a line, and then 1 second later realized, oh, they're serious? The first game wasn't some literary masterpiece, but at least sounded like real humans for the most part. Here it's like they took every generic line from a children's shonen manga and shoved it in the script. Despite the dialogue, sorry man, I can't take this shit seriously. I mean, yeah, suspension of disbelief or whatever, but I'm a kid who's been authorized by the government to fight terrorists because I know how to run an antivirus software. My dad willingly sends me into a city he knows is filled with intense and highly dangerous radiation because I said my dead brother and my Nokia N-Gage will protect me. Okay, well, while I'm not as into the story as the first game, the gameplay is still pretty solid, of course playing very similar to the first game with some improvements. Like, it's hard to explain, but when moving with Mega Man in battle, he feels more snappy. Like in the first one, he felt slightly laggy, I mean very slightly. Here, my inputs felt like there was no delay, which made dodging enemies easier. What also made them easier is the devs this time put in startup animations for their attacks, so once you know the pattern, they become a lot easier to dodge. One big difference from the first game is Mega Man no longer automatically heals between battles. I love this, as now I was paying more attention to fights knowing I can't just brute force it anymore. There are a few ways to heal, either by jacking out and going back to the real world, but in cyberspace now sometimes the enemies will drop health along with the chips and money, and you can also use items in the overworld, not just healing items but also keys for locked chests and items that help reduce or increase encounter rates. Another thing introduced in this game are proper side quests that will continue throughout the rest of the series. Some of these are really cryptic on what to do, and it's really annoying, but it's kind of worth it because doing them gives you some pretty good rewards like rare chips, upgrades for Mega Man, and a lot of money. The main new mechanic in this game is style switching. About halfway through the game, you unlock a style, which gives Mega Man an elemental armor, which does what it did in the last game, but also affects what your charge shot does. More importantly, it changes your color. Awesome. And then the actual style, which gives Mega Man a passive ability. The element you get is completely randomized from what I know, and is decided as soon as you press start on the main menu. The style you get is dependent on your actions during battle. I'm not going to describe all of them, just the one I got, which was Wood Guts. There's a dick joke in there somewhere. The gut style you get by using your Mega Buster a lot, which honestly I didn't think I used that much, but whatever. I did like it, it fit my style, and it doubles my buster damage, letting me deal up to 10 per shot when fully upgraded. But the trade-off is I can't shoot fast, but I don't mind that at all. What I did mind was the wood element. What it does is make me now weak to fire, and guess what types of enemies were in the dungeon I got this style. The other thing it does is change my charge shot. Now I have this tornado, which combined with my guts ability deals a fuck ton of damage. The trade-off is I can no longer shoot across the screen only 2 spaces ahead of me. This was fine for enemies and made fighting them easy. It sucked for bosses though. Remember, I can only shoot up to the middle enemy tile, and guess where every one of the bosses would sit? All the way in the back, so my charge shot was useless for them. You can change back to normal Mega Man at any time, so it's not like you're stuck with it, but it was annoying knowing I could beat the bosses way faster if I had my range. Now apparently you do get a second style after a certain number of battles, but during my playthrough of the game, this never happened to me. I only got the one. I mean, I know exactly why I didn't get it. It's because during the last half of this game, I didn't do a lot of the fights, because this game has a really big problem. There's so much fucking backtracking. One good thing about this game is that the environments in the net have improved, where in the first game they were pretty generic. In this one, they each are different, color-coded, and have their own personality. And I hope you like them because you'll be seeing them a lot. So many of the scenarios in this game can be summed up as, go here, then go back where you were, go to another area, now you gotta go back to where you were before. Are you fucking kidding me? I was just fucking there. The worst is the scenario right before the last dungeon. Not only is there all this ice around the net hindering your progress, you constantly have to go between multiple areas like 5 fucking times. The only gameplay here is walking back and forth. It's so tedious. When you're land, doing this is fine. It only takes about a minute to get to your destination. But as hub, you still have to deal with random encounters, and most of them will be in areas you are so overleveled for and don't need any chips from, so it's just wasting more time. You can run by pressing the L button, but I didn't even want to get in the encounter. I had to buy the sneak run item to get rid of encounters. I couldn't deal with them, man. But wait, you have to fight enemies, not for some chip count like the last game. No, instead this game decides to hinder your progression until you give a character a very specific chip. Now remember, chips have different codes and you don't always get the same one from an enemy. So if you end up at a spot where a guy asks for a chip you don't have, well, go farm, idiot, and pray you even get the one you want. Or maybe you did have it but didn't use it, so you traded it at the chip trader because you wanted something better. Well, fuck you, stupid. You should have known this character in this game you never played wanted 3 copies of it. It's so fucking annoying. Like I said, the gameplay is very fun and improved a lot, and I didn't even mention it, but I love the music in these games. Every single Mega Man Battle Network game has fucking banger soundtracks. Especially the dungeon music, it's fucking sick. Now even the dungeons, both in the first game, this game, every game, I think are all very fun and memorable and have unique gimmicks. Also, this game has way more content to do, as there are a shit ton of new chips to collect, 250 in total. And of course you still have the extra bosses, secret bosses, post-game dungeons. You can play this game for weeks probably. Except I just don't care about all that, because the game just decided to be an asshole by the end of it again. Once again, if you're off grinding and exploring the game, you probably had no trouble with the chip requirements. But fuck you if you actually try to justify the backtracking, that is some ass. Don't get me wrong, while Battle Network 2 annoyed me, it's still better than Battle Network 1, improving on gameplay and offering a lot more content. Yeah, while I wasn't as into the story, I honestly recommend people start here, as it's not difficult to follow even if you haven't played the first game, and it's just a better playing version of 1, you know? Start here. If you can deal with the, backtracking and constant walls. Alright, let's move on to Battle Network 3 now. You may notice that from here on out, Capcom really decided to lean into the trading and collecting part, and do what Pokemon does, having 2 versions of a game to encourage trading and multiplayer. For Battle Network 3, there is a blue version and a white version. For this video, I am playing the blue version since it's Mega Man. I gotta pick blue version. And this was the one I played as a kid. So the story for this one is things are pretty good in the world right now. No cyber terrorism, no evil net navies, everything is great. Except when it isn't, because Wywee is back with new members of World 3. At first their attacks seem random, but they are trying to get all the Tetra passwords to unleash Alpha, the prototype of the internet that went berserk after being a buggy mess, and was put in the recycle bin. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You should know how these go by now. Evil Navi attacks, someone's in danger, and Land and Mega Man need to stop them. I will say, the stuff in between all that, with the writing and shit, has gotten better. There are actual times of character development in this game, not just for Land and Mega Man, but even Dex and Chaud get something, with Dex's relationship with his brother and Chaud's with his dad. There's a clear improvement here. Oh, and Mail and Yai are still just kind of there. There's even a mini episode where Lan and Mega Man form a friendship with a kid, Mamoru, sick with HBD, which is a disease that killed Hub, which is what eventually led him being Mega Man. I was actually really happy that the writing improved so much from the last game. It not only has some more drama, but there's even some funny dialogue to lighten things up, and I mean it's intentionally funny now. I just love Bubble Man with his funny design and his stupid goons that were clearly afraid of Mega Man and openly discussed their plans. Stuff like that is charming and adds a lot of character to what would be forgettable one-off bad guys. There are some pacing issues with this subplot with the N1 Grand Prix, which is a tournament of net battlers. That's right, this game has a tournament arc. Get used to it, because this will not be the last game with a tournament arc. It will not be the last game. Anyways, in between all the story stuff, you have to go do these qualifying matches, which, similar to the licenses from the last game, are mostly just a gauntlet of fights. Now, I didn't mention this with 2, but in between scenarios, you had to get licenses to progress across the net. I didn't bring them up because I didn't think they were worth mentioning, but after playing this game with the qualifiers, I hate these. Both the license stuff and this N1 shit. It's not fun to me. It just kills any momentum that the story was having. Yeah, it's revealed it's a World 3 plot, so it's tied to the story, but I like how the first game was just after finishing one scenario, you can dick around, do whatever you want, and then continue at your own pace. Now the games are like, oh, you want to continue the main plot? Well, go out of your way to do this other thing first. But hey, I'll give it this. It's not as bad as other things. So gameplay-wise, to no one's surprise, it's exactly the same as 2. Not many changes have happened. One cool thing this game adds is Number Man codes. After the second boss, you unlock this Number Man in the chip shop, and entering certain codes gives you special chips and items. These codes were basically scattered everywhere when this game came out. Not only are there some in-game you can find, but you can just find them all across Japan through advertisements, magazines, on noodles. Even the anime and manga would give out codes. Nowadays, you can easily look this stuff up online, and I sure as hell did. Look, you could have seen these at any time as a kid, and anything to make my playthrough easier, I'm all for it. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I mean, these special chips don't help that much anyway, at least in this game. If I did draw them, it would deal a lot of damage, sure, but most of my deck was still the standard ones I'd have at this point, so yeah, it was easier, sort of. Cool feature though, this is apparently in the rest of the games, and I will continue to use this. Styles are back again. This time I got Electric Custom Style, which let me use 6 chips at the start of a round instead of 5, and turn my charge shot into a paralyzing shot. Pretty nice. Now the main new thing for this game is the Navi Customizer, which is the new way Mega Man powers up. You no longer use power-up chips to upgrade, now you have several Tetris-shaped blocks that you have to fit into this customizer, but there are rules you have to follow. Like blocks with squares can't go into the line, blocks without the squares don't work unless they're in line, and 2 blocks of the same color can't be next to each other. If you violate any of these rules, Mega Man will get an error, which usually gives him some shitty effects like less health, weak attacks, stuff like that. But sometimes they can actually be beneficial, especially when you get a modding kit that lets you override some of them, if you know what you're doing. I didn't, so I mostly try to keep it without error. I think the system is pretty cool, and I think a lot of people did as well, as it's kept throughout the rest of the series. It sort of has this puzzle mechanic to your upgrading. And with pieces having these rules, you have to decide if having a certain one at a point in the game is more beneficial to you, and maybe you should remove this one piece and make room for this other one, make this part easier. I think that's pretty cool. I actually really like this system. Yeah, the Navi Customizer is really the only big major difference. Everything else is just like BN2. Everything. Yes, it's back. Backtracking is still a pain in the ass, no matter how you look at it. At least you can find a sneak run upgrade that helps keep away enemy encounters on lower levels, so at least they have that. But like I said, backtracking is backtracking, especially when it's forced. It's not fun. You want to talk about not fun though? The chip requirements. Oh my god. Hold on to your ass, because this is the most times I think they've halted progression because some character needed a certain chip. And you know what? They feel harder to come by too. In this game, it feels like if you don't get at least a half decent rank, you get like 30 zenny, let alone the specific chip you need. They did add this chip order system, so if you had a chip before, you can order another one, so that allows you to use the chip trader with less worry. But I guess to compensate, they added even more chip requirements? Talk about 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. Again, if you're playing these as a kid, it's the only game you play for like a month or whatever, it's fine with that context, blah blah blah. But today, playing it more casually as an adult, it's fucking lame. Every time I needed a chip and it turned out I didn't have it, I died a little inside knowing I had to go somewhere and happen to find the exact enemy and do well enough that not only would I get its chip and not some other enemies, but also that it would be the chip with the right code, otherwise I have to try again. I really hate this, man. I hated the chip requirements so much in this game, I actually didn't even beat it. Yeah, that's right. I got to a point where I was just like, I'm fucking done. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. I got to that Mamoru part I mentioned before, and again, I needed a very specific chip. And after looking up what I needed to do to get it, again, it's not awful, but I played the game for about 8 hours at this point. I got other shit to do. Life is short. I'm not going to waste my time playing a game that's just Battle Network 2 with a puzzle game. Better story or not, I just don't care. And it's like, I don't really think my opinion of this game is going to change after fighting Bowl Man. Now, I did watch other people play this on YouTube, and I would have just been more annoyed, because there are future dungeons where you need fire chips to burn vines. Hope you stocked up on those. Or how about going on the net, and you need water chips to extinguish fire in the scenario before the last dungeon. Which is the same thing as the ice crystals in the last game, and I hated that too. All for what? Fight Bass for the 10th time in the post-game? See this universe's version of Dr. Cossack? See Lan and Mega Man fuse with the power of brotherly love? Yeah, no thanks. And it sucks because really the chip walls and the backtracking are the only downsides to this game to me. The rest of it's great. The gameplay, the graphics, the music. Just knowing what I have to do to progress demotivated me so much. Alright, going to fight specific enemies to find some item maybe like once or twice throughout the game, that's fine. That's just a little thing to break the pace. But having to constantly get me to stop what I'm doing, go farm forever, maybe getting the chip I want, it's not fun to me. I don't find it fun. If you find it fun, don't talk to me. Alright, why don't we take a break now and take a look at some spin-offs. Yes, spin-offs for a series that's already a spin-off of another series. Not uncommon, especially for Mega Man. First, there's Rockman.exe Whis, released exclusively in Japan for the Wonder Swan. I've mentioned the Wonder Swan before in some of my anime games videos, but for those that don't know, this is a Japanese exclusive handheld made through a collaboration between Bandai and Koto Laboratory. It mostly has games based on anime Bandai owns like One Piece, Detective Conan, Digimon, but also has some third-party games like one based on the Battle Network games. This is a side-scrolling shooter similar to the classic Mega Man's, and I mean that literally. It's got similar stiff controls, one-hit death spikes, and bottomless pits. Seems the story is more based on the anime considering it starts with a recreation of the opening along with the music. It has some unique elements like multiple paths to take letting you fight a different boss at the end of each stage. And to tie it in more with Battle Network, you can use chips sent by LAN. A lot of these are one-time use, but some can be used indefinitely like the sword. And the game's not really something I would recommend playing today unless you want to feel this novelty of a Battle Network side-scroller on WonderSwan, because if you want to play a janky Mega Man side-scroller in general, stick to NES. Or why not try the Third Dimension with Mega Man Network Transmission, released internationally on the GameCube. So you'll notice this is the first Battle Network with voice acting, not in English though, they're not going to spend that much money on this. The story takes place a month after the first game, where a new virus dubbed the Zero Virus is infecting Nabbies and making them... That's right, we're bringing Mega Man Zero into this. It's not as cool as you think. It's another side-scrolling Mega Man's, eventually even letting you select a stage in any order similar to the classic ones. Once again, the main difference being LAN sending chips to Mega Man, which have ammo as well as a stamina meter, sort of, so you can't spam them. You need these in the beginning because your Buster fucking sucks. At least in the main games without power-ups at the beginning, it's still useful. Here it barely does any damage, fires slow as hell, and you can't charge until you get a power-up to upgrade it. Similar to the WonderSwan game, it takes a lot of inspiration from classic Mega Man, especially the bullshit, and even straight up uses the same stage gimmicks, like Quickman having basically the same mechanic as the NES version. Here though, Mega Man's stiffness feels so wrong. I think because it's 3D and several generations later, but it feels like a classic Mega Man, and I don't like it. Those games had the excuse of being on NES. This one I feel is doing this control intentionally to give that old school feel, but it's GameCube, it's almost 20 years since then. Can we update the controls? One great thing is the music, it's really good. After playing all these 16-bit games, it's nice to hear some CD quality. Once again though, there's just not really much reason to go back to it unless you are a really big fan of Battle Network. And it's not that the game's bad, it's just that going back to it these days is pretty rough. So instead, let's go back to the home turf of the Game Boy Advance with Mega Man Battle Chip Challenge. Now, one interesting thing is you can pick different characters besides Land and Mega Man, including 2 new characters made solely for this game, and each one has a different story. The game plays exactly the same no matter what though. All of them center around this big net battle tournament. Yes, another tournament arc. Get used to it. I picked Male to be different, and her story is feeling bad for maybe being the cause of Land getting sick and missing the tournament because he lent her his umbrella on a rainy day. It's pretty bad. You know what else is bad? Not this game, because I couldn't tell you if it's good or bad, because I never played it. You may see all this stuff happening on screen and think, that's me doing it, but nope, I am not touching a single button. How Battle Chip Challenge works is you make a deck of battle chips and pray to your gods. It has a strange bracket system where every turn it selects the chips for you and you watch the battle happen. You can set some chips to the side and use them with L or R when your meter is full. That's all the interaction you get. It's more of a deck building game if anything. I'm not even like speeding this footage up through emulation or editing or anything. This is actually a 2x speed built into the game, even they know this is tedious as hell. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of those auto-battling mobile games they have today. Surprised they haven't used the system for some kind of Battle Network mobile game. This style works great on a phone, but for GBA in the 2000s, while I don't think it's terrible, it's definitely not fun. Most of this footage you're seeing, I'm not in front of the screen, I'm off doing other things. I'm actually writing the script right now while the game is running in the background. So is it really possible for me to give my thoughts on a game I can't really even play? Yes, it's bad. I don't like it. They also made a version for the WonderSwan. They actually bothered to do that. Finally, the last Battle Network spin-off is Rockman.exe 4.5 Real Operation, exclusive to Japan for the GBA. Now this is more along the lines of a simulator game you'd expect, making your GBA act like an actual PET would in the games. You can use your email, a calendar, talk with your Navi, all that stuff. You can of course also wander around the net in battle. The battles this time are semi-automated. Your Navi moves around on its own and you send ships that appear randomly on the bottom of the screen. So again, it's more of a simulator, as this is how it would be if you used a PET in Universe. That's fine, but come on, Battle System and Battle Network is the best part. And this is a game where you can play as other Navis, which is really cool, and it's on the same system. Just use the same battle system. I don't think anyone would have complained. Now, I would have played this game more, but about 30 minutes in, it froze. Which I think in all my years of playing things on actual consoles, through Game Boy players on the GameCube, and emulation, this is the first time ever a GBA game has frozen on me, and I feel like anything this game does after wouldn't be as magical as this. So fuck it, we got 3 other games to look at anyway. Hey, since we just looked at 4.5, let's look at the next game, Mega Man Battle Network 4. Once again, 2 versions, there's Red Sun and Blue Moon. I picked Red Sun because, well, I picked Blue last time. The story of this game sucks. So there's a giant asteroid that's on a collision course with Earth, and when it hits, it will destroy the world. So all the world's best scientists, including Lan's dad and the definitely not evil Dr. Regal, come together to find a way to destroy it. This is essentially the plot of Armageddon. Mega Man now has the same plot as a Michael Bay film. Take that however you want. Dr. Ikari tries to use a laser to destroy it from the Earth, but someone sabotages it and it fails. Even though it is clearly sabotaged, the other scientists just think, oh man, he failed, Ikari sucks, let's follow this clearly not evil guy instead. And this moment once again adds to my theory that all scientists in fiction are idiots. Regal's plan is to send the world's greatest net battler to space, well, their Navi anyway, because, get this, the asteroid has a server. The Armageddon asteroid is connected to the internet. Turns out the world's greatest net battler is, gasp, Lan and Mega Man. What? Ah, yeah. You may have noticed it has taken me quite a while to introduce our protagonists to the main plot of the game. That's because the entire game, they're going on an entirely separate storyline. They really don't show up until the last hour, and that's because for the entirety of the game, you're going through multiple tournament arcs. Yes. Multiple. So here's where Red Sun and Blue Moon offer something interesting. There are 3 tournaments you enter in the game, and each has 3 scenarios, each revolving around Lan's opponent. The cool thing about this is there are multiple scenarios for each tournament, which one you get is random and dependent on your version. The bad thing is, there are multiple scenarios for each tournament, and which one you get is random dependent on your version. Now this adds some variety for multiple playthroughs, which is mandatory for 100% completion, but I'll get to that later. Now because the game doesn't know which of these you'll get because they're random, they are as disconnected from the main plot as possible. So essentially, every tournament is a filler arc. Along this tournament arc, Lan and Mega Man find a dark chip, which I'm sure is good, as well as an evil organization named Nebula who seem to be picking up the slack from World 3 and Gospel for cybercrime. There is this whole subplot of Mega Man having a dark side because of the corruption of the dark chip. The whole time I'm like, really? If you're playing 4 at this point, you've probably played the other 3 games, and you would know, like I do, that Mega Man is the biggest Boy Scout on the net. Gee, I wonder how this subplot's gonna wrap up. It just comes off as more filler. That's what you can describe this game as, filler, the whole thing, except maybe the ending. Even the tournaments are the most nothing ever mattered bullshit. Each scenario is literally forcing Lan and Mega Man to go on some back and forth trip, with the ultimate goal usually being to waste time, and by extension, my time. I don't like wasting my fucking time. And let me show you, I'm going to take you through my own tournament scenarios that I got playing through Red Sun. The first one is nothing special. Oh, except we fight a dead girl. Yet Ghost exists in the Battle Network universe now, and it has us go around the net exercising Ghost, which admittedly the dialogue was kind of funny, but other than that weirdness, it wasn't really too annoying, definitely strange. The next one though is some fuck. So I was about to fight Dex when his brother from the last game gets kidnapped, and the kidnapper says only Lan can save him by following the kidnapper's instructions. And here's where one of the game's main problems comes out. So most of the kidnapper's instructions are, go here, solve this puzzle, talk to this guy, get this thing, now go here, now go there, making you go back and forth. And as you're traveling through the net for the 4th time, that's when you realize there are barely any dungeons in this game. In the past games, every scenario had a unique dungeon to keep things fresh and made each one memorable. Sure, some sucked, but I think the good outweighed the bad, thanks to some of the puzzles, and some of the best music in the game comes from these dungeons. Here, because they don't want to make all those dungeons, since obviously making over a dozen unique dungeons sounds like hell, each scenario just has you run around the net in the same locations every time, sometimes with some unique mechanic, which is usually press B, and they come off as gimmicky. I actually really like the unique dungeons they had in this game, well, 2 out of the 3. Riverboat 1 was pretty neat, trying to complete the story, and the last dungeon having to plan out your path to step on these panels in order were of course annoying at first, but once you understand what needs to be done and use common sense, it's not difficult. They were pretty fun to me. But for the tourneys, well, hope you like going to the same location 5 fucking times. Anyways, we find Dex's brother, and it turns out there was no kidnapper. Dex's brother believed in him so little, he pretended to be kidnapped, so Lan would be late and get disqualified, so Dex could win. Literally the whole scenario was a waste of time. I was so happy when I found this out. And what do we get for it? The replacement for Styles. Instead, we have double souls now. How these work is instead of a permanent upgrade, you activate a double soul by sacrificing a certain chip in battle, giving you this new form for 3 turns. This sucks. Not only is it now just a 3-turn clock opposed to a cool permanent modifier, it's dependent on what chips you use. To get the Gutsman one, I needed these panel destroy chips, which I never used. For every game, I think they are the most useless chips and always traded them away. Even if I had some, I wouldn't put them in my deck anyway, so I didn't care, this was useless to me. The last scenario with Top Man was fine, no complaints, it was even kind of entertaining. So yeah, that was my Den City Battle Tournament arc. After that is a fixed one where you go on a date with Mail, which I'm not made of stone, I thought it was kind of cute. But during this date we get a few important things. One is we get our Navi customizer back. More importantly, Numberman codes, hell yeah. Thanks to this, you'll see me use a chip that has this overly designed character that seems to be appearing a lot in this game, and I think it needs some explanation. So some pachinko developers named Konami had this nobody employee, Hideo Kojima, make a game for Game Boy Advance called Bokutai that follows this character named Django, a vampire hunter who uses sunlight-based weapons to kill them. The unique thing about this game is they had a built-in solar sensor that when exposed to sunlight powered up your attacks in the game, made to encourage kids to play outside. And for reasons I am not aware of, for the rest of the Battle Network games, this franchise will be referenced. I just figured I'd mention it because you're probably going to see it in my footage all the time because they are the best chips in the game, and it's going to come up again, so keep it in mind. Final thing we get in this scenario is we get access to the dark chips. Before that, let me explain this mood meter. Depending on how well you're doing in a battle, Mega Man's mood will increase or decrease. This is only useful if you land a counter hit, you enter full synchro, which doubles the damage of your next chip. Love this mechanic, so glad it's a mainstay now. Until this point with the dark chips, if you got hit, he would get sad or anxious or whatever. Now take enough of a beating and you get access to the dark side, the most overpowered chips in the game, healing you fully, dealing insane damage. The trade-off being errors happen during the fight, and you lose 1 pip of your max HP, which can never be regained, unless you beat the post-game. But honestly, it's worth it to me. When I got the dark chip, I immediately used it. The benefits heavily outweigh the cost. Usually if you die when using a dark chip, you instantly revive. You can't control Mega Man anymore, he goes berserk. He just spams all the broken dark chips, but I mean, at this point, it's pretty hard to die in the game, only for the low price of my soul. But after all that, we move on to the next arc, the Eagle Tournament arc, and I'll admit, this one was probably the most fun to me. I first went up against a curry chef and had to beat him in a cooking battle by playing this chopping minigame. Yeah, this one was fine. I am biased toward any cooking or food-based episode, though. The second one, Mr. Match, a former member of World 3 who has shown up in every game so far by the way, gets into a fight with our opponent who uses Burn Man, and they try to prove who's the bigger hothead. This one was also fine. Dousing fires around the net wasn't too annoying, and I like how to convince Burn Man to stop burning down the net, we tell him we beat Fireman so we're stronger. That was kind of funny. The last one I'm honestly kind of disappointed by because it could have had a lot of potential. My next opponent was Mailing Roll of all people. That honestly shocked me. And instead of this being some good character stuff, it turns into us rescuing Roll from a perverted stalker, their words not mine. It becomes that bullshit sexist thing of don't underestimate us because we're girls. I beat her really easily. He's got me the Roll Soul Link, which I did use more because you use a healing chip, which I always have handy, but ultimately was never really useful. After that, it's the Red Sun Tournament. By this point, the laser thing happens, so this is the tourney to determine the world's best net battler. It's taking place in Nettopia. This is that foreign country from 2 where we got robbed and almost murdered, you remember. And we go there again. Alone. And this time we get kidnapped. Why do we keep coming here? Turns out though, this kidnapping of a minor was a test to see if we could even enter the tournament. Oh, I guess that makes it okay. Oh right, I tried to block it out of my memory, but I haven't even mentioned these preliminary tests. Or say it with me, more filler. It's usually running around performing forced annoying side quests. The worst one is the one for the Eagle Tournament. You have to get 50 points to qualify. Okay, where do you get the points? In random ass locations. Literally you have to run around, press A on everything, jack into everything, talk to everyone, cause anyone, anything could have points. And this right here is so tedious that this right here I remembered was the moment I turned the game off. This is when I stopped playing Battle Network. Being forced to go around and press A on everything, trying to interact with everything, that's not fun. Who would find that fun? Do you find that fun? Get out. Like, who was the person at Capcom that thought pressing A on every object, every wall, talking to everybody, just so I could have the ability to progress in the main story was a good idea? It's padding at best. And yeah, obviously Kid Me couldn't stand this. I fucking hated it. No matter how much I like Battle Network, I just couldn't do it, and of course I didn't play the rest of the games, 5 and 6, because I kind of assumed they would do the same thing, so I left it there, and I didn't really come back to the series until years later when they made Mega Man Starforce, but like I said before, that's a story for next time. And admittedly, I was going to stop here again, because once I realized this was the game that had this, I was not having any of it. But I realized I didn't beat 3 last time, so I was like, okay, I'll stick it out since I didn't beat this one as a kid. I'll go for it, I'll finish it, see what I was missing. It was hell. Anyway, the last tournament arc. This one got progressively worse. My first battle was with Thunderman, a returning character from Battle Network 2, but Mega Man gets cursed and, of course, you have to go around the net collecting bullshit. Except my health ticks down by 5 every second, even when in a cutscene or talking to someone. It didn't make it impossible, I can just heal by jacking out, but it seems unnecessarily harsh. I beat Thunderman and got his soul thing, I literally never used it. Next, my opponent was representing the motherland of Africa, or Netfrica, as it's called. And after saving these Negroes and beating this kid, my last match was with Cold Man, where I had to go to Siberia, or Sharo, to fix these satellites to prevent an ice age. Now this one is definitely, without a doubt, the worst scenario in the entire game. You have to mash the B button so much to shovel snow, you're working under a time limit, you have forced fights that you have to do under another time limit, big power plant energy. Also, you have to get certain chips in order to progress, but thankfully I could buy most of them and had a lot of them already, so I wasn't as pissed off by it. But you know what, after the points thing, I was just like, whatever at this point. I wanted to beat the game, I knew I was close, so let's finish this. So after winning that tournament, we go to where I started the synopsis, with Lan helping the scientists with the asteroid, where, surprisingly, Regal betrays us? What? He's evil? And it turns out he's the leader of Nebula? Who? Oh yeah, that new terrorist group, I completely forgot about them. Regal plans to... I'm not actually sure what the plan is. He says he wants to make an evil world, but how does the asteroid play into this? If it hits, he dies too, so he has to stop it. So is the plan to save the world himself and be a hero? If he hadn't sabotaged the laser in the first place, he would have gotten some credit for that, so why stop it and risk this? Or is the plan to hold the world hostage and kill everyone if they don't give in to his demands, but then he dies too? But well, whatever, evil, so we have to stop him. We managed to send Mega Man to the asteroid server, where it's 2 a.m. Why is there a fucking train running at 2 a.m.? We managed to send Mega Man to the asteroid server, where we beat Regal's Navi Laser Man, who, gonna be honest, I think has the coolest design in this game. Then we find out the server's AI is, oh hey, it's Duo from Mega Man 8. In this game, he's the last boss. Neat. Well, before him, we have to fight Mega Man's Heartless, and unfortunately, after we beat Shadow Mega Man, for the final fight, we don't have access to Dark Chips anymore. Lame. And Duo is actually pretty hard, man. It took me a couple tries to beat him. I actually had to restart and completely rework my deck in order to beat him. Never had to do that before. After that, thanks to everyone sending Megs their energy, he gets the strength to push the asteroid off of Earth's course, and Duo says he will return, maybe in a few years or centuries, to judge humanity again. And go back to driving your car, you nerd. After that, Lan, Dad, and Chad, he's in this game, they all corner Regal, who, no shit, instead of being captured, decided to jump off the roof. And then the credits roll. The game's over. What an out-of-nowhere dark ending. Now, like most other Mega Man games, you probably go back in after the credits, hit that continue button, expecting to just go back to your last save, and then do all the post-game stuff, you know, collecting chips, post-game dungeons, all that. Nope. Instead, you are prompted to start a second playthrough, because remember, you have to beat this game multiple times, because there are other souls that are version exclusives that you have to get, because remember, the scenarios are random. And, during your second playthrough, chests are different, so there are different items you have to collect. And there are new enemies that are stronger that you have to fight them again, and the bosses are stronger, so essentially each playthrough is subsequently harder. And then, only after doing all that, can you finally access the post-game dungeon. You may notice so far that my health is the lowest it's been for an endgame in this series. That's because there isn't much to do in this game if you do one playthrough. Even still, while doing my usual exploring, I barely found any chips, upgrades, or cool items. There's not really much side content your first time through. I clocked in a little under 10 hours, and about an hour of that is me leaving the game paused while I eat lunch. I beat this in one day. I'm sure the length is because they expect you to play through it again 2 more times, but I don't want to do that. Like, why would anyone in their sane mind, unless you're a really hardcore completionist, do that? So you can play more boring scenarios that have you run around doing more useless bullshit that you know is even more useless now that you've actually played the game and know the real plot. So I can fight the fish guitarist again. I was unfortunately not excited to play 5 or 6 because this game gave me heavy X7 vibes. And what I mean by that is that it tried to do something different, tried to do something new to, not get that same criticism that every Mega Man game seems to have of being the same thing over and over, lacking in innovation and all that. But instead of actually creating something new and unique and actually refreshing the franchise, they just end up making something nobody likes and actually almost kills it. And guess what? This game pretty much killed it. Well, let's hope the 5th game does something to keep my interest. Now remember, I haven't played this one or the next one, so from here on out, I'm going in blind. 5's versions are Team Proto Man and Team Colonel, and this game released around the same time as the DS, so it was also ported to the DS only a few months after it released on the GBA. That version includes both games and of course additional content and upgraded sound?
Jacket! Mega Man, execute! Let's bust some viruses! Battle routine, set! Execute!
And it's not just me and my dirty mind, but the name Mega Man Double Team sounds kinda sus, doesn't it? I decided to go with Team Colonel for this one because, look, I don't like Chad and Proto Man, I don't find them cool or interesting, and I thought maybe a new character would help spice things up. It didn't. So the story is Nebula is back, and Regal, who of course survived, actually sort of wins and kidnaps Lan's dad and takes his friend's PETs away, somehow making them more useless than they already are. Lan is fine though, because this global cyber terrorist can't look around a fucking corner. Trying to find out what happened to his dad, Lan meets Beryl and his Navi Colonel. Yeah, they're taken from Mega Man X now. Beryl convinces Lan to join his anti-Nebula force to save his dad, and yeah, that's the story. The game plays out the same each time, thank God. The scenarios you do are dependent on your version. It goes like this: you do a scenario that introduces your next party member, you fight them, they join you, and you do the new big thing for this game, liberation missions. It's a sort of strategy game mixed in between the rest of the usual gameplay. I was sort of excited for this. I actually love strategy RPGs, despite me sucking at them. Remember, I like to brute force stuff, and that mentality does not work with these games. But honestly, this mechanic was very disappointing to me because while the map movement and turn order placement is all fine, I like that, when you engage an enemy, it's just a regular ass battle. The only difference is you have to beat an enemy in 3 turns or you lose, and turns, unlike in regular battles, happen automatically, so you can be close to killing an enemy, but uh-oh, you were 1 frame off, fuck you. There is a part where sometimes you have to switch sides, but it doesn't really add much, you just press L&R to switch directions. Thrilling. You do play as the other Navis you recruit, which is cool and something I've wanted for a while. Until you realize compared to Mega Man, they all suck. Oh, also, Double Souls return in this game, they're just as useless here. Anyway, each of the Navis have different charge shots, and they have some sort of property that's unique to them, like Nightman doesn't flinch when charging his buster, things like that. But the problem I have with it is despite you upgrading Mega Man, they stay the same. You can have like max stats and attack where you're doing 5 damage per shot, but they still do 1. It's so annoying. You also can't use dark chips with them, which also return from 4. Unlike that game though, you have to buy them here and put them in your folder manually. They're not a situational thing anymore. But yeah, considering you can't use the most powerful chips in the game with them, I never wanted to use them. Thankfully they were limited to the liberation missions. Except for one scenario where Mega Man gets captured and turned evil, so you have to use the Colonel for it. And surprisingly, it wasn't the annoying dungeon mechanics that bothered me. It was being forced to use a character that doesn't let me use all the tools available to me. I really hate it when games limit me like this, even for story reasons. I don't like it. He doesn't even pick up certain chests because they're upgrades from Mega Man, so I gotta go back later to get them. Good to see the backtracking is in the devs' minds in some form. But yeah, I don't have much to say beyond that. Like, besides the liberation missions and the new story, if you put the other gameplay sections next to 4, you wouldn't know which one to shoot. I will admit, while I did just joke about it, this game has little to no backtracking, and there weren't really any chip requirements, nor were there any sections that felt like filler. Everything happened for a reason. So it is better with all that stuff, but again, at the end of the day, it's another Magman. Like, this just seems to be a curse with these Mega Man games, that Capcom has gotten so complacent in their formula that anything they do that's supposed to be a new thing to shake it up comes off as a tacked-on gimmick, because 90% of the game is the same as the last few. Playing these Mega Man games back-to-back like this for the past year have really shown me that if you don't give games time and you just keep pumping them out yearly because you know they're popular, because it doesn't give game developers time to like really innovate and really do something new to make sure the games stay fresh, people get sick and tired of it fast. I'm sure if I filmed myself playing this game throughout the entirety of it, I would have the most stone-faced, emotionless look ever. I was just going through the motions. Yeah, there was some stuff I liked, like the return of the dungeons and the puzzles and with their awesome music. The only thing that really annoyed me is this mandatory minigame having to hit 100 of these throws from Pokemon. That sucked. But I just didn't react at all. I wasn't disliking anything I was doing, but I wasn't really having fun either. I was apathetic to it all. Unless the Liberation missions really fascinate you, there's no reason to play this over 4 in my opinion. Maybe for the story, but it's not like it's that much better. I'm starting to get the idea even Capcom doesn't care anymore, because in the last couple games there were a lot of spelling errors and mistranslations. I ignored them at first because games from this decade just have those sometimes. But I'm starting to realize no one proofreads this shit. There are so many grammatical errors and times when characters would say dialogue meant for other characters. This happened a lot in 4 and 5. And I think even fans started to care less as well, as 5 sold okay, but it wasn't anything crazy, definitely nowhere near as much as when the series was in its heyday. And me, along with fans and critics, all had the same complaint. It's just Mega Man again. Which again, just seems to be the fate of any Mega Man series, besides Legends I guess, but that got fucked over in an entirely different way. Let's go into Mega Man Battle Network 6 and hope Capcom ended this with a bang. Okay, so, first off, what are these names? Cybeast Falzar and Cybeast Gregor? Is that Scottish? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like these names. They sound like shitty Yu-Gi-Oh cards to me. I picked Cybeast Gregor because that won the coin flip. Now, I'll just get it out of the way. The story of this game is good and does give a proper finale to the characters in the series. At least the last half. Despite it being the finale of the series, I feel it should be bigger and better than it is. There was a major difference at the beginning, with the game starting with Land moving to a new city, leaving AC/DC Town to the not as rock and roll Cyber City. Of course, when he moves there, he uncovers a new plot by World 3, They're Back, led by this bitch again. Also, seemingly switching sides from good to evil is Barrel and the Colonel from the last game, which, if you did play 5, I hope you played the Colonel version, because otherwise you'd be confused as fuck as who these two are. There are some new characters like Mick, the new rival character for Land, who I don't like. He's one of those acts like a dick, but is actually a misguided kid, so his dickery is charming. I hate those. There's Tab, a kid that runs the chip shop. He's as useless as the key he's named after. The interesting one is Iris, obviously based on the Mega Man X character, which if you know what happens to her in those games,
What am I fighting for?
I'm sure she'll be fine. Although honestly, my favorite characters in this game were all the evil Navi operators of World 3, who in past games would just show up and after getting beaten, they would become very irrelevant and just disappear sometimes. Here they actually have some personality and stick around for the rest of the game after you beat them, trying to betray Wily and take over the world themselves. They do get played up as being more bumbling and not very threatening as it goes on, but at least these guys, out of all the other villains, realized, hey, Land's a kid, we're a bunch of adults, and actually tortured him and we're just gonna beat the fuck out of him at one point, making them smarter than every other bad guy in the series. They even gave Barrel and Wily some kind of development and backstory together. But again, the shit part is this all happens near the end of the game, and it is good. I think the story is on par, if not better than the 1 in 3. I just wish that, considering this is the last game, that they kind of took more risks and broke away from the usual formula to kind of deliver something more memorable, considering it's the last one in the series, you know, go out with a really big bang. Now, actually, I was curious and I did look it up, and it turns out the devs didn't really know this was going to be the last game until apparently midway through making this one. So that does make more sense how it seems like a lot of all this important stuff is crammed at the last part. I just wish they had more time. But let's be real here, Capcom. There is no excuse for you having an entire scenario that takes place in a courtroom. We fight a guy named Judgment, and you don't have a single Ace Attorney reference in the entire thing. Like, come on, it's another franchise you have on the same console. You don't name a character Phoenix or something, or throw in some dialogue about burgers or whatever. Like, come on, it was right there. It was like, the layup was right there. It set it up for you by itself. I'm not mad. I'm just extremely disappointed. So, where do these legendary Pokemon fit in? Well, they're side beasts, as they're called. The bird being Falzar, and the lion, who looks really familiar, is the one in my version, Gregor. I always plan is to use these new devices introduced in this game called copybots to bring them to the real world. Copybots are these robots that let Navis come into the real world, which seems like a terrible idea considering all the cyber terrorism in this world. Speaking of which, he's going to use them to bring the Cybeasts into the real world so he can, well, you know. Problem is, one of them, depending on which version you get, is absorbed by Mega Man, which, like the Dark Chips from 4, start fucking with him mentally and making him go berserk sometimes. More importantly, it gives us a new form, allowing Mega Man to beast out, which is kind of overpowered. It makes your Buster into this machine gun, which is ridiculous, and turns auto-aim on for your chips, so you almost never miss. And this can be activated at any time with a press of a button. Another thing I liked were the new cross system. This is similar to the Double Soul from 4 and 5, but way better. It's still fusing with the Navi and getting its element and charged Buster attack, but unlike the last game, you don't need to sacrifice a chip, so you don't have to include some chip you don't want, throwing off your deck build or anything. They can just be selected from a list. Awesome, love it. Because of this, I use these forms all the time for enemies, boss battles. I busted them out constantly. It was really fun. The shitty thing is you do have to do some mini mission or mini game with the Navi you fuse with before getting it. Didn't really like any of those, but thankfully after the first form you get, the rest are all completely optional. You don't need to do them to complete the game, which I was surprised about, and since I liked the mechanic anyway, I went out of my way to get them all, and they did all prove useful to me at some point. You even get to actually use that Navi in the net after getting their form if you want to change a pace from Mega Man, and unlike 5, they don't completely suck here. Every other gameplay aspect is the same, of course, but if you played up until 6, you'd probably like it anyway, so who cares. Now, this game did have literal chip walls, but thankfully there were very few, and the chips they asked for were common. If there wasn't any backtracking, well, I didn't notice it. I think I was just having too much fun with this game. Actually, I had a lot of fun with this. This was actually the first Mega Man Battle Network game I didn't want to stop playing. Everything worked here for me. The story was pretty good, the gameplay was solid, the music was banging, the dungeons were pretty fun. I found a lot of this game to be fun and charming. Yeah, I think I can say without hesitation, Mega Man Battle Network 6 is my personal favorite one out of the franchise. I think the team did a good job making this the one to go out on. Well, spoilers I guess. The series ends with Colonel and Iris, revealed to be his little sister, sacrificing themselves to save Mega Man from the Side Beast infusion. Sometime after this, Lan and his friend graduate from elementary school and enter junior high. Except for Chad, he skipped a bunch of grades and is going to university. Told you he was a nerd. Using one of the copy bots, Mega Man is even able to interact with people in the real world, which was really wholesome. I loved that. Then we even get a Where Are They Now segment where Lan narrates what happened to everyone 20 years later. The only shitty part is there's no ending illustrations or anything, it's just text. Come on, what the fuck? I don't want to have to use my imagination for this. I can't get a thanks for playing with all the characters grown up with their kids. I want closure. Post-game will also kind of disappoint you. I mean, it's another fight with Bast Mouth, of course, and a supercharged version of Proto Man. That's kind of neat. But it's ultimately pretty short if you're playing the English version, and there's a reason for that. Remember that Boktai series? Well, if you play the Japanese version of 6, you'll see an entirely different post-game with bosses and dungeons based on that series. Which I think really sucks, no pun intended. I get why they did it, but also, why go out of your way to delete all this content that you already made? Just to get rid of a reference to a game that didn't sell well? You didn't get rid of the other references to it. But yeah, that's it. Mega Man Battle Network is done. The series is over. And of course, like I said, I still consider 6 to be my personal favorite. Taking aside everything I've complained about, the backtracking, the chip walls, the shit stories sometimes, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone said that any of these games were their favorite. While they have their issues, I would not call any single one of these games bad. They're all good games. Except one, if you think that's your favorite, then you're wrong. If you want the official tier list from worst to best, it's 4, 1, 2, 5, 3, 6. But yes, Battle Network is over, but it's not entirely forgotten. As some of you may know, maybe it's already happened as you're watching this video, Capcom is releasing the Battle Network Collection, releasing all of the games, hopefully as originally intended, and hopefully with all the content. At the time I'm recording this, there's not really much been said about it, but if you are interested in the series through this video, then maybe recommend checking them out. At least maybe look at some reviews first to make sure they're actually good ports. While Mega Man Battle Network did have a proper ending, which most Mega Man games, and hell, even most games in general, don't get, Capcom wasn't done with RPG Mega Mans quite yet. As you can even see in 6, they had their sights set on the brand new Nintendo DS console, and were willing to bring Mega Man into the next generation. Honestly, I'm going to be taking a break as I've had my fill of Mega Man RPGs for a while. When I do decide to come back, we will be ending this look at all the Mega Man games with the finale, taking a look at the trilogy of games released for the Nintendo DS, Mega Man Starforce. I'll see you then, and remember, it's better to be jacked in than jacked on. Over the past 2 years, I've been on a quest to play every Mega Man game, don't worry about that asterisk, and I've seen pretty much every iteration of this character since his debut in 1987. And now I can say with all of my experience that the best Mega Man is definitely Mega Man X, but if he didn't exist, it would probably be Geostellar. Mega Man Starforce, or known by its cooler name in Japan, Shooting Star Rockman, was meant to be the spiritual successor to the goated Mega Man Battle Network games. With over 5 games including Spinoff, the series seems to have run its course while on the GBA, but with the new Nintendo dual screen released, Capcom decided to revamp the series with new characters, story, and setting, gameplay. We'll talk about it. After witnessing its story and characters, Mega Man Starforce has given me something pretty much every other Mega Man game hasn't, an actual story with an ending. It's harder to get than you'd think in this franchise. So Mega Man Starforce 1 takes place 200 years after Battle Network, which does not matter except for the occasional reference. In this day and age, everyone uses EM wave technology for everyday life. Instead of pets from centuries ago, people now use transers, these fancy watches that don't have any cool Mega Man related character in them. Instead, they are used to make brother bands, which is like friending someone on social media. Actually, it's exactly like that. Except everyone in this universe treats it with the utmost seriousness. It feels like asking someone to be your brother is like asking them to be in a committed relationship. It's very weird how they treat it. Also, there are 3 satellites in orbit called Dragon, Pegasus, and Leo that basically run all of the wave technology on the planet and make sure it all functions. They are so important that they will completely disappear after this game. That's because their actual purpose is to decide which version of the game to get. Yes, like Battle Network, we have multiple versions to encourage people to collect and trade in-game cards. For my playthrough, I went with Dragon, because dragons are cool. I feel like I don't need any other reason. Geostellar is your average kid no one understands. He has a huge fascination with space thanks to his dad Kelvin. One day, Geo comes home from school to his hot-ass mom, and he finds out from his dad's coworker Aaron Boreal that they just kinda lost Kelvin in space, like a pair of keys. After losing his dad, Geo spirals into a depressive state that gets worse over time, with him spending all day in his room and refusing to go to school. The only times he leaves the house is when he goes to Vista Point at his town of Echo Ridge to look at the stars, holding on to some form of hope his dad is still out there. With only his dad's visualizer, some special glasses that allow a human to see the unusually invisible wave world, which don't work at all, but are the only thing he has to remember his dad by. The game begins 3 years after Kelvin's disappearance, and Geo heads to his usual spot, except this time he's intercepted by Luna Platts, the president of the class he would be in if he went to school. Along with her are our friend Zack, a nerd who does not matter and will continue to not matter for the entirety of the series, and Bud Bison, who acts as Luna's bodyguard. The 3 try to get Geo to go to school rather forcibly, so he of course just runs away to his usual spot on Vista Point. This time something weird happens. A mysterious blue light appears in the sky and heads straight for Geo, which hits him, and when he wakes up he finds the visualizer now works, and he sees the thing that hit him is an alien named Omega-6. Shortened to Mega, he's an FMian from the planet FM who somehow knows Geo's name, and he says he learned it from his dad. Before he can explain the way virus attacks a nearby train, just go with it, and Mega tells Geo to use an EM wave change, which is when an EM being and human fuse. And of course they form Mega Man. Get it? Because he's Mega, and he's boy, but Mega Boy sounds like From here the game is structured like the Battle Network games, with several episodic scenarios that are kinda connected, followed by a brief rest period to explore and do side content. However, unlike the last series where this stuff just happens and Land of Mega Man would just continue on with their day, each of the scenarios here serve to tie into Geo and his own struggles with coming out of his shell and trusting people, accepting his new power he has, and all gradually build on each other to further develop him, the other characters, and the world, you know, kinda like a story? First one is after another unsuccessful attempt to get Geo to school, Luna berates Bud specifically for it, causing him to feel inadequate, and starting to blame Geo for it. Those negative emotions attract another FMian named Taurus, who offers him the power he wants to make the Prez happy. This of course does not go well, as he is forcibly turned into his own wave form, Taurus Fire, who causes a car that Zack and the Prez are in to go haywire and tries to run over Geo. With the car out of control and Mega realizing Taurus is behind it, he tells Geo his Mega Man form is the only thing able to stop them. Geo, being an introverted pacifist, refuses at first, but realizing Prez and Zack are in trouble, he reluctantly springs into action. And after some forced touchscreen minigames, he beats Taurus, saving the trio, with Prez catching a glimpse of Mega Man in the process. Also, we see that Mega knows Taurus, and Taurus tells Mega more FMians are on the way to get something called the Andromeda Key that Mega stole. For this scenario, we not only get some setup and exposition, but it gives a reason to root for Geo as the protagonist. That despite being scared and not a fighter, he risks his life to save some people who he doesn't really even like, showing despite his personality, he knows clearly right from wrong and will risk his own safety for others. After that, we get the worst scenario in the game in my opinion. To help get Geo to go outside, knowing his affinity for space, that coworker of Kelvin's from the beginning, Aaron Boreal, invites Geo to his lab at Amakin, the Aerospace and Modern Astronomy Knowledge Expansion Nexus, an acronym that definitely had me in the first half. And now seemingly stalking Geo, Luna, Zack, and Bud follow him on the trip. Here, Aaron's assistant, Tom Dubious, is a super paranoid researcher who was betrayed once by a colleague who stole his idea and took it as his own. Aaron, wanting to reassure Tom he has good intentions, forms a brother band with him, which again is like third base in this world. So of course, right after that, Tom thinks he overhears Aaron doing the same thing his last colleague did by revealing his wing pack invention, which isn't even that good of an idea, to these children who can't do anything with this information, even if they had it, and somehow this gets him all angry, and another FMian, Cygnus, offers him unlimited power. Not if Mega Man has anything to say about it. And of course, Dubious finds out it was all a misunderstanding, of course. Sorry, I just hate when conflicts come from easily explainable misunderstandings that only become misunderstandings because an idiot doesn't just ask the other party and instead assumes everything. This one, of course, is to have Tom mirror Geo's own trust issues, with Geo pushing himself from people to not get attached, so he won't feel sad if he loses them like he lost his dad. And he has a chance to change that when he encounters Sonia Strum, an idol around his age that Geo finds hiding in his hometown. She's hiding from her manager, who wants her to be more commercial, but she wants to compose music that would reach her mother in heaven after she passed away due to some anime mom disease. This leads to Geo hiding her at Amakin until her manager comes by and even begins to physically threaten Geo and Sonia, and Boreal is there and he's just like, hey, knock that off. Do something, numbnuts, he's threatening to harm children. But this event is what draws the alien Lyra to Sonia, allowing her to change into Harp Note. And she doesn't really do much, she just kind of shoots these musical notes at people, but Geo stops her, showing her she's not alone in this world and to keep making music for her mom instead of TikTok. And of course her struggles relate to Geo and how he pretty much does everything for his presumably dead dad. So the two form a bond here so much that Sonia becomes Geo's first brother band connection, and some words of encouragement from her give Geo the courage to make some progress himself and maybe starts considering going back to school. Oh yeah, and Geo has some weird dream about 3 animals, it's nothing. Geo's not ready to go to school quite yet, but a school play is coming up and Luna, being pushy as always, tells Geo he already has the most important role, so he has to show up, because that's something you do to someone with social anxiety, pressure them. The play also appears to be about Mega Man, as Luna caught glimpses of him and has gotten a bit of a crush on him. At school, Geo meets a teacher, Mr. Shepard, who is one of those make learning fun types, and a kid named Patrick, who eerily says they will be good friends. Also, Geo meets those 3 animals who control the satellites. It's a whole quest you do to get your Starforce. Yes, that's where the name comes from. It's your transformation thing. It's more of a gameplay mechanic, really. I'll talk about it later. Most important, they mention they are Aemians. Get it? 'Cause it's radio? You kids know radio? They're the last of their race as they were wiped out by the Femians some time ago. Anyway, after stuff, Geo decides to come back to school at the best time because Mr. Shepard has just fused with Libra, another FMEN, after Shepard is told by the principal that he needs to cut out all this fun shit and make the kids learn because good grades equals more money for school, and if he doesn't shape up, he's fired. And he's got 3 kids, so the stress of trying to figure out the right course of action is what turns him into Libra scales and uses an EM wave to make the kids learn by beaming knowledge into their heads. This part's okay, you save Shepard in the school. Also, the play happens, Geo's role was supposed to be a tree, yeah, Luna lied, but the person who was supposed to play Mega Man bows out and Geo fills in, giving Luna some weird deja vu. The next day, a bunch of weird purple flame creatures attack the school, and Geo starts acting more like a hero, protecting Luna during this, but when Geo gets overwhelmed, Harp Note shows up to help. Yeah, it turns out Sonia and Lyra have become friends and can now EM wave change like Geo and Mega. Sonia has also gotten a crush on our Blue Bomber and uses this opportunity to ask Geo out on a date, which he reluctantly agrees to. Meanwhile, Luna overhears her parents talking about how they should transfer her out of school for her future or something. The next day, to take her mind off it, Luna tries to hang out with the Nerd Squad, but they refuse, so she decides to bug Geo, and sees him leaving with Sonia, so she follows them, because she definitely doesn't like him, she just wants to know what's up. During the date, Luna's parents are at the same snake exhibit, it'll make sense in a second, and Luna is found out by them, and Geo learns of her transfer as she storms off. This gets the attention of Ophiuka and FMEN, and despite Geo's warnings, Luna fuses with her. She controls snakes, that's why we're at a very specific snake exhibit. Sonia's out of commission after being bit by a snake, so it's up to Geo to save the day. He does, and Luna turns back in the Wave World as she hugs Mega Man when he's pulsing out. That's what the cool kids say when you leave the Wave World. Which reveals to her that Geo is Mega Man, and Geo and Luna make a brother band after finding out more about each other through this adventure. And Luna's parents let her stay, hooray! After all that Pat kid from before begins befriending Geo as the two bond over being outcast losers, and Pat offers to make a brother band with him. But it turns out Pat is evil, sort of, as he has another personality in him called Ray, who is working with the king of FMEans, called Gemini. Get it? Gemini? Because there's 2 of them? Have I made my point that these games have not even heard of the word subtlety? They've heard of puns, though. Gemini's here, of course, to get the Andromeda key that Mega has. Geo does stop him, but this once again triggers his trust issues after pretty much revealing his soul to Pat, only to seem like it meant nothing to him. So he has a falling out with Mega, who leaves and disbands all his brother bands he's made up until now. Which cannot come at a worse time, because the king of FMEans is here, and causes all kinds of havoc on Earth, including making the Wave World visible now. That's not good. Oh, also, the thing housing the king of FMEans is the same space station that Geo's dad was lost on. Convenient. During this, Geo finds Mega, who was just beaten with the Andromeda key taken, but they make up, he becomes Mega Man again, and Geo reestablishes all his brother bands. Now to get to space, Geo uses a secret underground NASA space bunker to transmit himself there. Cool. Oh, also, Boreal, Zack, and Bud all find out Geo is Mega Man. Why even keep it a secret at this point? So Geo goes to space, we do a boss rush because this is still a Mega Man game. We also find out that Mega is actually an AMEN who only joined the FMEN so he could use the Andromeda key to get revenge for them destroying his planet. But after meeting Kelvin and Geo, he's decided to change his mind. Also, Kelvin is not dead, not really a twist, but it's because Mega turned him into EM waves, so he's just kinda ethereal, floating around in space now, I guess. So anyway, we meet King FM, we fight Andromeda, it's a thing, he's actually kind of a hard last boss. We save the day, but now Geo is trapped in space with no way to get back. Thanks to friendship, he's able to make it back. Game over. Now I know towards the end of that I got real general and skipped a lot. That's because, trust me, these games do work as a trilogy, and honestly, after the Harp Note stuff, For me, the story was just kinda eh. Especially the falling out part where Geo starts doubting himself. Like, yes, it makes sense for his character and stories need moments like this, you know, the all is lost moment. But I hate these sections because you know it's just gonna work out in the end, it always does. I will say, and this will continue on through the rest of the games, I love the dynamic between Geo and Mega. Unlike Lan and .exe, who are literally brothers, here we get an odd couple, with Geo being the pacifist who doesn't want to interact with anything or anyone, and Mega being the violent punch first, ask questions later kind of guy, who wants to see everything Earth has to offer since he's new to the planet and gets bored very easily. The relationship slowly developing over the game helped the series is one of its highlights. Definitely my favorite protagonists of these Mega Man games, they're pretty fun to watch. But anyway, now we need to talk about the part that I guess is important to a video game, the gameplay. So if I were to describe Starforce's gameplay, it's Battle Network simplified. It is for the most part the same game. You have an overworld you travel in where you meet NPCs for quests, and instead of jacking in, you pulse in to the wave world, which is a bunch of roads above the overworld. Honestly, that's fine. I do miss the net world with its 90s window PC backgrounds, but you still kind of get that in certain areas. To get to the wave world, you need to pulse in at certain points on the map, so you can't do it anywhere, which is only annoying for side quests. So how do you think you accept side quests in this game? Well, first you find someone who makes mention of a problem, then you have to go find an area to pulse in, you pulse into the wave world, navigate to them on the wave roads, which involves usually taking a long detour, you go into their transer, they say the problem, you accept the quest, then you pulse out, have to walk back to them, talk to them IRL, then the quest actually starts. Why can't you just talk to them? And there are a lot of side quests in this game. Also, you can only accept one at a time, you can't have multiple going on at once. Now sure, some of them aren't that bad, like take a quiz or you give them a card, but trust me, it gets annoying having to do this process so many times over the course of the game. Yes, they're side quests, so they're not mandatory, but you get good rewards for them, like rare cards or health upgrades, so they are worth it to do, especially if you're a completionist like me. I didn't do every quest in this playthrough, but I did do a lot of them, and let me tell you, it was not fun. Also, I don't think the dungeons are really that great. Most of them are mainly designed to do what the DS does best, have forced touchscreen minigames. Not all of them have it, like Ophiuchus doesn't really have one, but some like Tara's Flames, which is just a quick time event, feels like padding. Similar is Harp Notes, which she doesn't even get a dungeon, she's just in the overworld, but hers is just spam tapping a direction to blast music notes. And how did they miss an opportunity to make the Idols touchscreen minigame a rhythm game? It was right there. The dungeons themselves are fine, pretty linear with only some diverging paths for chests, pretty standard. I'd say my favorite were the Snake Dungeon, where you had to outrun these giant snake creatures, and Libras, because this minigame was answering basic trivia and math problems very fast, which is harder than you think, and this dungeon had the best music. Now the most important part, and what you'll be doing the most, the battle system. It's fine, I just don't like it in comparison to the last one. Now if you're unfamiliar, well, you should have watched my video about it, then you'd know in Battle Network you fought on a 3x6 grid, where you can move around and shoot with your Mega Buster and do bits of damage, while using your battle cards, which were bigger attacks with one-time uses, to deal most of your damage to enemies and bosses. That mostly remains the same here, but instead of a 3x6 grid viewed from the side, it's a 3x5 grid you view from a third-person perspective. This is to both show off the 3D capabilities of the DS, but also to simplify combat, as now instead of 4 directions, you can only move Mega Man left and right. While yes, this makes dodging simpler, I feel it does take away a lot of the satisfaction from previous games of learning enemy patterns and attacks to dodge them properly, as now you just press left or right at the right time. It does not feel as satisfying. At least the best part of Battle Network remains in Starforce, the card system. You build a deck of cards based around mostly enemy attacks and even bosses, which are your main source of damage. And yeah, it's still great. There are a lot of familiar cards from Battle Network, but of course a lot of new ones, adding more variety with new enemies that actually do take advantage of the more linear battlefield. Want my advice? Get the Flame Mule card, whatever it's called, that shit is broken in this game, trust me. Finally, they kept a feature introduced since Battle Network 2, which is different forms for Mega Man. And like I said earlier, your form is dependent on your version. I played Dragon, and honestly, I didn't care for it. It's a wood type, which powered up wood element cards and healed me on the grass tile. They might as well just call me a beta. And then there are special combos of cards that result in best combos. I never use these, nor will I explain them, because they are kind of pointless. In my opinion, when you have Mega and Giga chips, which are like big summons, those remain the best cards in these games. Overall, I think Starforce 1 is fine. As a spiritual successor to Battle Network, it does its job of being different enough while maintaining a lot of the things that make it a mobile RPG Mega Man. What do we call these two series together? Is there a name for that? Of course, I mainly enjoyed the story aspect of this more because the gameplay to me is just... Battle Network for dummies. Starforce 2 is probably the weakest one. Not saying it's bad, just comparing it to the rest of the trilogy, it's not as good as the other two in my opinion. I'm not going to go over each scenario in this game in such detail like I did with the last one, mainly because I don't think of them as highly as the last one. So in this game right off the bat, you can tell Geo has changed because he actually smiles in his portrait. That's development. A weird trend for these games is that every game you get a new thing for using your brother bands. In 2, instead of transers, we now have star carriers. They're pretty much just smartphones and serve pretty much the same function as transers, so what is even the point? Now, in my opinion, I think each game handles a certain theme that ties into Geo's development. In the first one, it was mainly things like trust and friendship. Friendship's going to be a common one throughout the rest of the series. And this one is about Geo actually putting himself out there as a hero. In this game, the villain, Lady Vega, is going around causing havoc. This causes a huge EM wave burst or something that now has normal people perceive the wave world and Mega Man, and after some events involving Vega's subordinate Hyde, who causes more EM beings to fuse with humans, Mega Man starts becoming a sort of national hero. Geo does not take this well, because he still hates violence and standing out, and to make matters worse, his friends egg him on a little too much, saying he's the best and will always win, he can't lose, which doesn't really encourage him, it just makes him more nervous that he can't live up to their expectations. And this comes to fruition when, on another date with Sonya, Mega accidentally eats something called an Oop Art, a powerful artifact that gives you your new form, more on that later. That's the main thing the bad guys want, and now that Mega Man has it, a kid named Solo, who is an emo loner that doesn't need things like friendship, if you couldn't tell by his name being Solo. Oh, and if you need further convincing, his EM form is called Rogue. So Solo, of course, hates Mega Man because he talks about friendship and junk. So after the two of them scrap, he uses a big shadow hole that teleports Zack, Bud, and Sonya away, with Geo only able to save Luna. We have another Geo sulking moment, which luckily doesn't last long when Luna is able to bring him out of that funk quickly. Especially when they see Zack on TV in another country, now confirming their friends are alive, just scattered throughout the world somehow. And this is where the story started to lose me. Because now it was no longer about Geo coming to terms with the fact that he's a hero and needs to step up and do what is right despite all the pressure and potential danger. It's instead a globe-trotting adventure to save your friends, with Hyde showing up like a Power Rangers villain to turn some random adult into a boss battle. Which is fine, I don't mind that part, it's just, it feels like two different games happen when these two plots occur. Like, that whole Mega Man being known thing does get brought up again, but it feels more pushed to the side now. And then we learn about Mu, an ancient civilization that used EM waves. I repeat, an ancient civilization that was able to utilize radio technology. Now yes, this is fiction and it's for kids, it's not like I can't believe that that happened in this world, but they never really explain how they did this. Like, the civilization with no concept of technology could just interact with something that can only really be interacted with using technology. Well, they did have ancient star carriers that the bad guys use, which it sounds like the civilization used ancient versions of the tech they use today. So why are we just hearing about them now, and why do we never hear about them again after this? Like, it doesn't feel like world building to me. Kind of like the satellites, it's just another thing to exist only in this game, and they try to give it more meaning, but because it's only used once in this game, it has less of an impact, it feels more like a gimmick, which, yeah, it is a gimmick, that's the whole point of it, but the writing should make it feel like it isn't. That's my main problem with this game. The story feels kinda all over the place. First it's about a new threat and Mega Man becoming a known hero, then it's about saving your friends and going all over the world, then it's about this new ancient civilization we've never heard of, which, by the way, Solo is the last surviving member of the people of Mu, which is why he's all emo, he's basically Sasuke. And that's fine to have all these plot threads, it's just that, to me, they don't come together naturally at the end. And there are some things that happen in this game that I think are just stupid, like the part where Geo thinks Sonya turned evil, because when you find her, she's like, I'm working with the bad guys now, I don't need you. And again, just so they can have a Geo depressed moment, he's like, man, I can't believe she's evil now. And look, I don't care if he's a kid or because of his past or whatever. After the first game and the beginning of this one, I just don't believe Geo's that stupid to think that Sonya would just betray him like that. Luckily, Luna tells him obviously she's lying, duh. And she did it because if she didn't, the bad guys would attack Mega Man, like they've been doing this whole game, so she did it for stupid reasons too. And yes, again, I understand why she did it. She likes him and junk. That doesn't change that the logic is still stupid. I mean, he's Mega Man, he's shown he can take care of himself. Then there's EM Residue, which is excuses for why they can reuse Taurus Fire and Queen Ophiuka assets for story bosses. So yeah, I don't really care for the story in this game. The gameplay is still pretty much the same as the first one, so it's good. I like it. Except the lack of dungeons. There's like 4 towards the last half of the game. At first you just use the wave roads in the real world, which is just a bunch of linear hallways essentially. The dungeons we do get are fine, I guess. My favorites were the one in Wazap, yes, that's the name of the country, and the final one. Luckily they do get rid of the forced touchscreen minigames. There are still minigames, but most of them use the D-pad. Only a few require the touchscreen, and they aren't that bad. Side quests are unfortunately the exact same as before. It is easier to get to someone's star carrier to accept their quest, as now when you transform you can walk around on the ground, so you can go directly to them, but you have to trans out and walk back to them like before. So they sort of removed one step. You can still only accept one at a time though. Now I know I sound very negative and you probably think, oh, he doesn't like this game, he's trashing it, but no, it's still a portable Mega Man RPG. There really has to be a better name for these. So core gameplay and battle system wise, it's still solid. For the versions, there's Zerker X Saurian and Zerker X Ninja. A Saurian sounds like a slur to me, and ninjas are cool, so I picked the ninja one, which, because of the Zerker, you can actually pick that one on either version. Yeah, you get 2 forms in each game. I went with ninja, of course, and once again, I got the form that uses wood element. I swear I didn't plan that, it just happened. I would go into what this form does, but similar to why I didn't talk about the dragon one, I barely used the cards for that element, and whatever extra benefits that form offered me did not suit my playstyle of brute forcing with powerful super cards, so I didn't care. Also, I was starting to not enjoy the story, and just to get footage, I used codes to get better cards about halfway through, which isn't cheating. Most of these are promotional codes distributed in Japan intended to be shared. I'm playing as intended. Didn't really help me with the last boss though. Now, the last boss in 1 was kinda hard, but I beat him first try. The last boss in 2 is legit probably the hardest boss I fought in this Mega Man RPG series. He has so much health, fast attacks you have to dodge, and you can't even hurt him right away until you wear him down after dealing a certain amount of damage. He took me so many tries, but I did beat him and this game, and the ending is basically the same with Geo being lost, but thanks to friendship, he finds his way back. They all kinda end like this, spoilers. Oh, also, Lady Vega just disappears. I'm not explaining her motivation and backstory, it's not that interesting. Solo's still around, and I guess now Mega Man is sort of a known hero, so that's Mega Man Starforce 2. Overall, like I said, story and level design left a lot to be desired to me, but I'm a simp for a good card game system and action RPGs, so it balanced out for me. Luckily for Geo, he did get one more game, and unlike other Mega Mans, he got a proper finale to his story.
Mega Man Starforce 3, Red Joker!
Not gonna lie, that voice acting scared the shit out of me. Finally, we have Starforce 3, Red Joker, and Black Ace. I actually already own Black Ace for some reason. It's the only Starforce game I do own, so I decided to play Red Joker for this one. The only main differences again are the forms, also some extra bosses, ooh. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So the one thing I do like about these games are their extensive post-game sections, with extra bosses, a sort of extra story, and of course powerful cards to collect. I didn't do any of them, mainly because of time, and also I've done it before as a kid, and I'd rather not 100% an RPG twice in my life. I'm not that sad. That's what I like to tell myself. Starforce 3 gets rid of star carriers for Hunter VGs. Basically now anyone can bust viruses with their new wizards, digital beings that live in their devices. And wait, this is just the pet system from Battle Network. It's literally the same, except people can materialize them in the real world. They just gave up and decided to bring back pets, I guess. The story of this game is thankfully the most straightforward and honestly the best one in my opinion. After Geo saves the school from a wizard that goes rogue along with one in a studio that Sonia is filming at, he gets to know the Satella police who investigate wizard-related crimes, especially Ace, one of its most prominent members, and his wizard, Acid. Their main goal is to stop Dealer, the new villains consisting of their leader, Mr. King, his super hot assistant Heartless, some big nigga named Joker, and Jack and Tia, 2 siblings who go undercover in Geo's school because they know he's Mega Man and are ordered to keep an eye on him. This goes well at first until a field trip with the school to Alohaha, again yes that's the actual name, and after stopping another Dealer plan, Geo finds out about Jack and Tia, and then kinda surprisingly, Joker shows up and notices Mega Man likes to protect people, especially people like Luna, and he straight up kills her, right in front of him. Look at that sprite of Geo being absolutely destroyed, that's too real. Even Tia and mostly Jack are taken aback at that as they started feeling the power of friendship with Geo and his friends. And this is where the story got better for me because you'd think this is another Geo sulking moment, but no, Bud, Zack, and Sonia are upset about it, but Geo doesn't give up hope. He says that since they still have brother bands with Luna, that she must still be out there. Turns out she is, and she wasn't killed, but turned into EM waves and was scattered throughout the real world. So Waza, the organization heading the Satella Police, helped Geo restore Luna, and they constantly tell him there's no guarantee this will work every step of the way. There will only be a slim chance she'll be revived. But Geo doesn't care, because as long as there is a chance, he's determined to save Luna. And finally, this is the development I was looking for, and it makes sense as in past games, Luna was the one who would always believe in Geo and help him cheer up. So it's nice to see that when she needs him, he's willing to step up and do whatever it is to help a friend. You'll see where all of it clicked for me, that you really have to play all 3 of these games to get this change of personality. Going from a reclusive, awkward kid with trust issues, depression, and having no tolerance for anything violent, he's now a more bright and happy kid who has faith and trust in the people around him, and is more willing to use his abilities to help people no matter the danger to himself. He's even willing to let his friends help and not babysit them because he trusts them, like Sonia and Bud. Yet for reasons I'm not going to get into, Bud can now freely EM Wave change into his Taurus Fire form, making him a part of the team. But even Bud gets some stuff in this game when he decides to leave the team, because he wants to stick close to home while Geo takes care of all the other stuff around the world, so he can protect his friends Luna and Zack. I wasn't expecting to come out and say Bud is one of my favorite characters in this series, but alright, I'm here for it. And yeah, of course they save Luna thanks to friendship and a really annoying sequence of searching for her fragments, hearing that same voice line over again. Sonya doesn't really get that much, unfortunately, she's just kind of there. Also Zack. My point is, if you just play the first Starforce game, you're really missing out, as this series, while stumbling a bit, does have arcs for its characters that have a payoff here at the end of it. That doesn't mean the new characters they introduce are thrown to the side, One of the reasons why Geo is more eager to jump into action is because he looks up to Ace, as he's an example of an ideal hero to him. And during the Luna stuff, we find out Ace actually used to be a part of Dealer and even had a relationship with Tia, it seems. And Tia puts a plan into action attacking the Waza base while Mega Man is trying to revive Luna, but he beats her, capturing her. This prompts Jack to try to save her by beating Mega Man, but he starts to hesitate when he sees Luna's alive somehow. Oh yeah, and help us fight Jack, Solo comes back. Yeah, he's just around now, and he has a wizard too? Okay. So after beating Jack, we go to Dealer's base, where Joker from before basically hacks Acid, turning Ace into Acid Illegal, which is a sick-ass name. After Geo beats him and Joker, Joker, under an order by King, attempts to self-destruct, but Ace sacrifices himself to save everyone there, including Geo, Tia, and Jack. And yeah, Ace, for the main story anyway, is dead. Sort of. They leave it up to player interpretation, but he doesn't appear anymore in the game, and I think it's better for the story that he is dead. But his last words to Geo help light a fire in him when he tells him to be a hero of justice and stop Dealer. Oh yeah, I haven't actually said their plan yet, have I? So along with all these technological advancements, a new type of disruptor called noise appears. It's what corrupts wizards into going berserk. Using high concentrations of noise, Dealer corrupts wizards, and when too much noise is around, it takes a physical form called Crimson. Dealer's collecting this Crimson because the more Crimson on Earth, the faster it attracts a giant meteor called Meteor G, which isn't really a meteor, it's a huge ball of noise that formed in space. And if it hits Earth, not only will all EM wave technology be destroyed, but also 80% of the human population will die. So, yeah, that's kind of bad. King doesn't want to destroy the world, though. He wants to rule it and control the meteor, so everyone will basically be like, you know, back off or I'll kill you all. But surprise, it turns out Jack and Tia are there to stop him, because they never were with him. But surprise again, he captures them because they actually suck. But surprise again, as Heartless was actually also never working for King and planned on betraying him from the beginning. So she uses a noise hole thing to seal him in Meteor G. But Heartless's plan isn't going right because she expected Mega Man to show up first, not Jack and Tia, who reveal their plan is to let Meteor G crash into the Earth and kill everyone. But why? Well, it's because as kids, their lives were ruined by war and technology and all that stuff, so they want to get rid of it all. Honestly, I didn't care how sad their backstory was, considering they are knowingly killing 80% of the population. I mean, you can't justify that, kids, no matter how sad your backstory is. Well, after Geo finds all that out, it turns out he can't really do anything, as Meteor G is now on a collision course with Earth. But he has to, because Heartless reveals inside that meteor, the main being powering it, is Kelvin Stellar, Geo's dad. Yeah, after being turned into EM waves by Mega, Kelvin was on his way back to Earth when he saw Meteor G, realized its threat, and went inside to try to stop it, but only started slowing it down. How does Heartless know this? I forgot, doesn't really matter, because now shit is getting real. Geo has a chance to save his dad along with everyone else. There's no turning back here, so one last time, Geo goes into space, being directly transmitted into the meteor for the final battle. Where due to science, we see bits of Kelvin's memories, which are kind of boring. I'm gonna skip them along with the boss rush. Mega Man beats Jack and Tia and convinces them, hey, destroying the world is kind of stupid. And they leave with Rogue, who also showed up. Needed something for him to do, I guess. And now, the moment finally happens. The thing Geo has been working towards since the first game. He meets his father in the meteor. Finally, everything Geo has done up until this point, all the struggles, the tears, the laughs, the hardships, are paying off. His dad is finally there in front of him. Till King shows up again, remember him, and he fuses with the meteor and then eats Kelvin, what the fuck? So now it's the real final battle to save everyone. Mega Man versus a dragon. I kind of wish it was something more creative for a final boss, but at least the music is good. Like the last one, this boss was hard as shit too, what the fuck, man? Geo manages to hold his own, but uses all his energy, barely making a dent in the meteor dragon. It seems like Geo can't go on anymore. Thanks to friendship and Ghost Ace, Geo unlocks his final form, a red wind turbine, and in a satisfying victory lap, you just wail on the final boss in this invincible form, destroying the meteor and saving the day. But once again, Geo is lost in space, and Kelvin decides to reveal to the world that Geo is Mega Man without his consent, and needs their help to get him back. I told you it happens in every game, but this one is cool and involves the whole world, so it's fine. With that, Geo is guided back, but Kelvin and Mega, for some reason, stay behind, saying they will meet again someday as the credits roll. Geo wondering if he will ever see them again. Of course he does. We need to have the possibility of a sequel, as Mega returns right after the credits, and even Kelvin is back in full human form. How the hell did that happen? Who cares? The end. Which, yes, it is a sappy ending, but who doesn't love those? And how can you not feel happy looking at that sprite of Geo hugging Mega? That's just great. And that's the story of Mega Man Starforce, the best story in Mega Man. Yeah, I said it. I think it had great character arcs, decent plots, and above all, a good main character to follow. Sure, it stumbled hard there in the middle, but hey, unlike other Mega Mans that either go on for too long, or don't get any resolution, or get some weird successor that just makes things more complicated, Starforce was a nice trilogy of games I'd recommend to anyone that likes Mega Man, RPGs, card games, or the DS. I guess those people exist. Gameplay-wise, again, 3 is similar to the other 2. The only major differences are you can now transit anywhere, which is very convenient, especially for side quests, which are, again, better but still suck. Instead of one exclusive form, you have different noise forms that are similar to the ones in Battle Network 2. You know, you get them based on, I think, how you play the game. And there are a lot of them, more than I thought. And you can even potentially get another one like I did by just playing the game. You're not stuck to just one, you can have multiple. I've always liked these style-like forms because they can make each playthrough feel so different. Also, we have actual dungeons this time. Well, it's front-loaded instead of back-loaded, but I forgive it because the dungeons are sort of fun and have awesome music. But yeah, that's the Starforce games, and with that, my journey to play all the Mega Man games is complete. It took way longer than expected, but it was fun. I got to experience games and worlds I never would have otherwise, like today, and I was able to relive parts of my childhood that I had forgotten about. And even though I played some questionable ones, Mega Man still remains one of my favorite franchises to this day, and hopefully a Starforce collection or something is in the works, or even a new Mega Man. Probably not.
Don't forget to subscribe!